Chapter 241, Recruiting Shuiyu. The three people who got off the boat were exactly Chen's target this time, Wudai Mizuyage and his two guards. What they didn't know was that there was a group of people waiting for them to appear at this time. I finally landed. It still feels good to be down to earth. As soon as he landed on the shore, the young Chengjuro couldn't help but let out a sigh. After all, he had been on the boat for so long. Even those who lived on the water all year round in the land of water would feel a little bored, and now he finally landed. Yes, naturally, a sigh is inevitable. Humph. Seriously, what is this sloppy mentality? Can't stand it just by sitting on a boat for a few days. That's why I said that today's young people really have no perseverance. In our time, seeing Chang as soon as Jiro landed on the shore, he relaxed, and Ao, who was a senior, immediately scolded. Terumi Mei, who was smiling originally, changed her face when she heard Ao's last sentence, looked at him seriously, and said coldly, Ao, now is not the dark age known as the blood mist. The fourth day Shuiying's nightmare is over, don't bring it forward. Hold, I am sorry, I accidentally. And Chengjuro was obviously in awe of that Ao, and because of his personality, he didn't care whether he was wrong or not, he just bowed his head and said, yes. I'm sorry, I will try harder. Seeing Chojuro like this, Terumi Mei put away her serious expression, turned around and smiled at Chojuro and comforted him. Chojuro, you have to be more confident in yourself. You are already very powerful, otherwise I won't be selected as the escort during the meeting, right? And, you're right, I've been on the boat for so long, and now I really want to have a good rest. It's better to have a hot shower. Take a shower, that would be even more perfect. Quote. Lord Shuiying, why even you? Terumi Mei looked at Ao with a smile on her face, and said softly, what's the matter, do you have any opinion? Ao, who was teaching Chengjuro a lesson with a stern face on the side, saw that his Mizukage was also like this, and looked at Terumi Mei with a confused look, but did not dare to refute anything. It's okay for him to teach the newcomer Chengjuro a lesson, but he doesn't have the guts to teach him to Mizukage, but he knows the horror of this woman with a gentle smile. No. When Terumi Mei was about to continue to say something, she suddenly sensed something and was stunned for a while, but she quickly recovered, with a playful expression on her face. She said with a smile, Yaha tilde aha tilde I was thinking about it. Take a break, but it looks like someone doesn't want us to take it easy. While speaking, Terumi Mei's eyes looked forward, while Chengjuro and Ao, after hearing Terumi Mei's words, both became vigilant at the same time, and put on a defensive state, staring straight ahead, because it was not far in front of them. I don't know when three people appeared, and it seemed to be aimed at them. More importantly, they felt a powerful momentum from those three people. They were obviously strong players, so they didn't dare to let your guard down. The three people who appeared in front of them were Chen, Shuiyu and Changwu. As for Shanglin, they were not with Chen, and Chen and the others did not hide their aura when they came from a distance, and they also pointed towards Shuiying in a targeted manner. The three pressed down. Shuiying and the others were not weak, so naturally they could sense it right away. Soon, Chen and the others had already stopped in front of Shuiying and the others, but they did not start immediately, but looked at Shuiying with interest, with a playful smile on their faces, and said casually, 5 generations of Water Ying, you're finally here, I've been waiting for a long time. You, who are you? What do you want to do? Chojuro didn't seem to recognize that the person in front of him was Tatsuya Uchiha, who shocked the ninja world. At this time, after the other party approached, he felt the pressure from the other party. Without the ability to think, he was questioning Chen nervously. At the same time, he also remembered his responsibilities. When Chen and the others approached, he had already held the flatfish on his back in his hand and made a gesture of attacking at any time. I saw that although Terumi Mei had already recognized the identities of Chen and the others, she did not show the slightest panic, but smiled, looked at Chen and said, it turns out that it is the eagle who has been very active in the ninja world recently. The members of the team, it seems that after dealing with Union and Konoha, The target this time is my 5th generation Mizukage in Wuin village. Yalai tilde, it turns out that our Eagle squad is just a little active in the eyes of Suiying-sama. It seems that Suiying-sama doesn't seem to take our active team in his eyes. Hearing Suiying if Chen didn't speak, Shuiyu grinned and replied with a sneer. Yo, isn't this Xiao Shuiyu? You are called the prodigy of Wuyin, and you are praised as the 2nd generation of ghosts, but you didn't expect to betray Wuyin, and the beheading sword on your back seems to be our Wuyin. One of the 7 ninja knives in the hidden ninja village. Shouldn't you give me an explanation for this water shadow? I'm actually called the 2nd generation of ghosts, and this beheading sword was originally in the hands of the seniors, and he was not strong enough and was killed, so this beheading sword will naturally be inherited by me. Shuiyu said with a sneer. Really? Since that's the case, Shuiyu, do you know that the blood fog era of the 4th generation of Shuiying has passed? And now if you return to Wuyin village, I promise as Shuiying that I will betray you from the fog. Hidden things are not to be blamed for the past, and you will be appointed as the new 7 ninja swordsman. How about you? Would you like to go back with me? Terumi May seemed to be very interested in Suzuki, and was not in a hurry to get it, but left him behind. Olive branch. Lord Shuiying, you. Ow, who was on the side, obviously did not agree with what Terumi May said and wanted to stop it, but Terumi May ignored him and looked at Shuiyu, as if waiting for his reply. The 7 Ninja Swordsman, it's really a good title, but I can't afford it. What's more, Mizuying-sama recruits me in front of my boss. Is it really okay? Really? That's really a pity. If that's the case, then you all die. Seeing Shuiyu's refusal, Shuiying was not surprised. She just shook her head and said a pity, and then to the surprise of everyone, she didn't say anything more, but suddenly moved towards the location of Chen and others, and launched an attack. Attack. Chapter 242, Battle. Unexpectedly, Shuiying launched an attack immediately after failing to recruit Shuiyu, and suddenly spewed a mass of molten slurry from her mouth. The target was obviously Chen, Shuiyu, and Changwu, who were standing in front of her. Humph. Although Shuiying's attack was too sudden, due to the strength of Chen and others, the reaction was naturally not slow. They had already reacted before the molten lava came. All 3 of them jumped back and escaped Shuiying's attack. The strength of Changjiro and Ao is also good, otherwise they would not be the guards of Mizukage during the 5 shadow talks. This attack of Mizukage seems to be a signal. After the first mistake, Changjiro and Ao he also returned to something in an instant, and at the same time, he jumped back to avoid the molten water shadow and attacked Chen and the others who had not yet landed. Appeared, Master Shuiying's blood follows the limit, the art of escaping. Master Shuiying has already started. I must protect Master Shuiying, but the other party is the one who defeated Union and Konoha, like me such a person. Is it really possible? No, I can do it. I will try my best. When he just started, Changjiro seemed to have no confidence in himself, and was guessing wildly in his heart, but his eyes became firm in the end. At the same time raised the ninja sword in his hand and shouted, Hiramo Flounder. Liberation. Following Changjiro's angry shout, the flatfish in his hand was immediately wrapped in a light blue chakra, and at the same time, the bandage wrapped around the knife was shattered, revealing the original appearance of flatfish. On the flatfish at this time, gas was first emitted from the 2 circular holes of the flatfish, and then the whole flatfish glowed as a whole, forming a chakra aggregate, and then a chakra light sphere burst out, and Changjiro's goal was to also hold the 7 Suzuki, one of the ninja swords. Bang! Seeing a beam of light attacking with a fierce momentum, Shuiyu snorted coldly, not afraid, and suddenly stood the beheading sword in front of her, and at the same time lucked chakra as a defense. Over the years, Shuiyu has been following Chen's side, and he has carried out many dangerous missions with Chen. His strength is already much stronger than in the original book, and he is obviously above Changjiro, but he is in midair at this time. With the help of Chu, and the strong attack of the flatfish, although Suzuki blocked Changjiro's fatal attack, the belt was still knocked away by a force. Seeing that his attack was actually blocked, Changjiro couldn't help but froze, and said a little dejectedly, "Is it actually blocked? I really still can't." Compared with the depression of Changjiro, Shuiyu is very excited. At this time, his body has already fallen to the ground, but because of the huge force formed by Changjiro's attack, he was pushed out for a distance after he landed, but it was very difficult. Stop quickly. Although it looks a little embarrassed, because of the timely defense, it did not suffer serious damage. Because of drinking pulse, the body's resilience is different from ordinary people, so with its own recovery ability, this small injury will soon be healed. Recovered. Shuiyu slowly stood up from the ground, patted the sand on her body, and finally turned her eyes to the flat-eye flounder in Changjiro's hand, and said with a sneer, "He one of the 7 ninja swords, the flat-eye flatfish. It's really interesting." After he finished speaking, he didn't know if Changjiro had recovered from his depression. He had already waved his beheading sword and attacked Changjiro suddenly, and Changjiro's depression was only an instant, and he immediately returned to normal, feeling Shuiyu. After the fighting intent, he also did not flinch, and immediately met the attack of Shuiyu, and the two fought fiercely together in an instant. On the other side, Ao also launched an attack, and his target was the honest Chongo. However, although Chongo was simple and honest, his strength was not low. Although Ao was the Jonin of Wuyin village, and he also had Bayan as an assistant, but when I met Chongwu, who had automatically entered the half-curse mark state, I still felt it was difficult. After all, after turning on the curse mark mode, Chongwu's strength directly reached the elite Junin, so there was no pressure on Shengqing's words, and the current Chongwu still it's just a half-curse mark, this is not his limit. At this time, the subordinates had already fought together, and only Shui Ying and Chen Zhu were left in the field. Chen had already turned on the kaleidoscope writing wheel while dodging Shui Ying's surprise attack, looked at Shui Ying who was slowly walking towards him and said with a sneer, I never thought that Tang Shui Ying would even use something like a sneak attack. The means, it's amazing. It's a pity that it didn't work, didn't it? Shui Yingzheng said charmingly with a smile on his face, as if the person standing in front of her was not an enemy, but an old friend whom he hadn't seen for many years. In fact, Shui Ying's heart at the moment is not as relaxed as it appears on the surface. From the moment Chen appeared, her heart already knew that it was not good. After all, Uchiha Chen's reputation had already spread in the ninja world. From the deeds he has done, you can know the horror of this person. Whether it is Yunyin or Konoha, they are the top forces in the ninja world. Reikage, Tsunade, Jiraiya, which one is not famous in the ninja world? One of the strong ones ended up being planted in the hands of Uchiha Chen. Even the fighting strength of a ninja village was unable to take him down, and instead suffered heavy losses. Now there are only 3 people on Mizukage's side, facing Uchiha Chen's Eagle Squad, and the result can be imagined. And Shui Ying knew from the beginning that the situation was not good, so she tried to deal with it from the beginning, and finally said that she wanted to recruit Shuiyu, and launched a sneak attack while the other party was distracted, but unfortunately, it did not work. But she definitely won't show it. Tisk take a closer look, you look quite handsome. Are the Uchiha clan really handsome? It's a pity that they are so handsome that they are enemies, at least. Send you a bone-breaking kiss. I saw Sui Ying said with a chuckle, but his hands had already moved, and they were holding them in front of him to form a seal, obviously intending to use ninjutsu. On the other side, Chen just looked at Sui Ying's not with interest, and did not stop it, nor did he take a defensive posture, as if he didn't care about Sui Ying's upcoming attack. Melting Escape. The Art of Melting Monsters. Quote ellipsis. Chapter 243. The Dissolution of the Water Shadow. While Mizukage was speaking, the seal had already begun, and by the time she finished speaking, the seal of the ninjutsu had also been completed. Dissolving Escape. The Art of Dissolving Monsters. With Shui Ying's soft drink, she saw her cheeks bulge and attacked the place where Chen was. In an instant, a light green viscous liquid suddenly spewed out from the mouth of the water shadow, and it was still in a large area, like a river. Wherever it passed, everything was dissolved, even the land was no exception. The sound of zzz continued, and white fog appeared at the same time. In an instant, the viscous liquid covered the place where Chen was, and when Chen was viscous, he instantly condensed Susanoo, and a skeleton wrapped himself and blocked the liquid. The viscous green liquid was also blocked by Suzuo and could not be stained with Chen, but Chen was also completely covered by the liquid. To Chen's surprise, Susanang, who is known as the strongest defense, was gradually dissolving after the molten slurry, and the speed was very fast. I believe that if Chen did not take measures, the whiskers that Chen had just condensed would be dissolved. Zuonang must have been dissolved by the fusion. Looking at Uchiha Chen, who had been completely engulfed by his own wrongdoing, Terumi-Mei did not continue to attack, but said in a low voice, "I didn't avoid my wrongdoing, did you underestimate me? But it is too late to regret it now. Has been covered by wrongdoing, even the strongest steel will be dissolved in an instant. I'm sorry, I don't plan to let you go, although it makes my heart ache every time I see the handsome guy dissolved, but Uchiha, it's too dangerous, so please die." This whisper seems to be Shui Ying's self-talk, and it seems to be for Chen to listen to. Of course, she doesn't care whether Chen can hear it now. Obviously, Shui Ying is still very confident about his own dissolution. And at the moment, Chen, who is being covered by wrongdone, is looking indifferently at the gradually dissolving Susanoo, as if he doesn't care, but he secretly muttered in his heart, "Sure enough, I didn't expect that there would even be Susanoo. It can be dissolved, this dissolution is indeed not to be underestimated. However, if it is only at this level, With a cold snort in Chen's heart, he secretly strengthened the chakra, and saw that Susanoo, which was originally dissolving, was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Not only that, after Susanoo fully recovered, it is growing at a terrifying speed and continues to grow. Susanoo, who was originally just a skeleton, has grown muscles and meridians in an instant. With the growth of Susa, naturally, the liquid that had been swallowed up by Chen was also propped up. Although he has broken free of wrongdoing, Susanoo seems to be injured too, and there is blue smoke from all parts of his body, which is obviously due to the dissolution of wrongdoing, but the damaged part has been exported by Chen. The chakra has been repaired, and there are no scars to be seen except that it is still smoking. Seeing that Uchiha Chen was unharmed under his own wrong-done attack, Sui Ying couldn't help but smile and said, "I don't like men who are not easy to melt." At this time, Chen, who was in the head of Nengu, looked down at the water shadow on the ground, and said playfully, "Wrongdoing. The attack power is really strong. Then, try my attack as well. Go." Following Chen's sneer, Susa, who was under Chen's control, suddenly moved, raised his arm, and a sword composed of Amaterasu's black flames condensed instantly. Feeling the sense of crisis that came from the black flame, Shui Ying's face condensed, and she put away her previous wry smile. Her expression became dignified, and at the same time, the pendulum also started to move, and her hands quickly formed seals. Without giving Mizukage a chance to use ninjutsu, Chen had already controlled Susanoo to raise the Amaterasu blade in his hand and slashed towards Mizukage on the ground. Boom! Susa hit the ground with a violent blow, shattering the ground around Mizukage. At the same time, the black flames on Amaterasu's blade spread to the ground and continued to burn. However, Mizukage's strength is not something that can be killed with such a simple blow. Before the attack of Amaterasu's blade, he has already jumped out of Susa's attack range, and he completed the previous knot while jumping away. Immediately Susa launched an attack. Water escape. The Great Waterfall Technique. A strong water column suddenly spewed out of the mouth of the water shadow, creating a large-scale water potential, attacking Susanoo, and finally collided with Susanoo, but Susan's defensive ability was too strong. Mizukage's powerful ninjutsu did not have any effect on Susanoo, and the water column hit Susan's body but could only be scattered on the ground, but in an instant, Susanoo was standing on the ground. A lake-like terrain is formed around the location. However, Mizukage's attack is not over yet. When the water column is used, the second ninjutsu is already being prepared. The attack of the water column has just ended, and the second ninjutsu has been completed. A chance for Zuaneng to take a break. I saw that the moment the lake under Susanoo's feet was formed, Mizukage immediately launched an attack. In the place where there was water, the fighting power of the water ninja suddenly reached a step. Environment of water escape, water dragon bomb. With a roar, two giant dragons condensed from water in the lake rose into the sky and attacked Susanoo, but Susanoo was already prepared. Bang! With Chen's cold snort, Susa had already waved the Amaterasu blade in his hand. When the giant cage attacked, a knife suddenly slashed on the dragon's head, and the menacing water dragon was split apart by Susa's sword, turned into a sky full of water droplets and fell on the lake, forming a storm-like scene. At the same time, when the black flame and the water dragon collided, the high-temperature black flame instantly evaporated part of the water droplets, and the water vapor immediately filled the air. For a time, their vision was blocked. P.S. I haven't been asking for anything for a long time, so I beg for a wave. Chapter 244, Water Shadow Crisis. The collision between the black flame and the water dragon instantly turned into water droplets scattered all over the sky, and at the same time some of the water droplets were evaporated, and suddenly turned into water vapor, blocking everyone's sight. Although Uchiha Chen's line of sight was temporarily blocked, this did not make Mizukage relax the slightest vigilance. Sure enough, just for a moment, Uchiha Chen's voice came from the fog. Fire escape. The fire is extinguished. Almost at the same time, just as Chen's voice fell, Shuiying saw a flame flying out of the fog. Strictly speaking, it was a sea of fire. The entire foggy area was illuminated by firelight, and the target of the sea of flames is obviously a water shadow. Even in this white fog-filled environment, Chen was still able to lock on the figure of Shuiying, so the moment the water dragon was split, the seal was immediately formed, and he attacked Shuiying without hesitation. Seeing the sea of fire coming towards him, Mizukage's face changed, and he couldn't help but secretly said, "Damn, this level of fire escape is beyond the scope of normal ninjutsu. This method of manipulating flames is simply incredible." The Uchiha family. The fire escape ability really lives up to its reputation. Although I have long known that the Uchiha family is good at fire escape ninjutsu, I am still surprised by Uchiha Chen's ability to control fire, but Mizukage also knows that this is not the time to think about this, because the scope of the sea of fire is too huge, and it is obvious to avoid it. No, so I can only block it hard. At this moment, the responsiveness of the shadow-level powerhouse was fully demonstrated. Almost from the moment the firelight lit up, Shuiying had already thought of how to deal with it. It was a little faster before, and a few simple Indian styles were almost completed in an instant. Water escape. Water formation wall. I saw Shuiying bulging his cheeks, and a huge stream of water spewed out of his mouth again, forming a fan-shaped water wall in front of Shuiying, facing the oncoming sea of fire. The ninjutsu displayed by the shadow-level powerhouse is naturally not comparable to ordinary ninjas, and the environment at the moment makes the water shadow even more powerful, and the water escape ninjutsu is much stronger. It was another collision of ninjutsu. The hot flame hit the water curtain, and the water shadow was desperately mobilizing the chakra in the body to support the water wall, and finally offset the huge sea of fire, and instantly raised a white fog. The vast expanse made the already blurred venue even more hazy, and this made Shuiying more vigilant, and it was inevitable that a powerful ninjutsu would emerge from the fog, so she had to play 12 points. Mind on guard. Compared to Shuiying's vigilance, Chen was actually very relaxed. In fact, Chen's attack was more tentative from the very beginning, and the ninjutsu he released casually didn't show his real strength to fight at all. "These fogs are really annoying, let me get rid of them," Chen said in a low voice, instead of following up to attack Shuiying after releasing the arrogant fire to extinguish it. Immediately afterwards, Chen used the wind escape ninjutsu to blow away all the white fog in the field, and the figures of Chen and Shuiying were naturally revealed again, and they were holding each other. Chen sneered, looked at Shuiying and said, "Dengtang Shuiying, is your ability only this level? Haha tilde, do you want to try again?" Shuiying took a step back gently, acting casually, and said with a chuckle, Although Shui Ying was very relaxed, it could be seen from her vigilant eyes that her heart didn't want to be as relaxed as it appeared on the surface. At this time, she looked at Uchiha Chen, who was staring at her, with vigilance, because she had already felt the pressure, and she already knew the gap between herself and the opponent in a short fight, and the defensive power of Susanoo that was condensed by Chen beyond her imagination. Even her proudest Rongdun could not dissolve, let alone hurt Chen. She also saw that from the beginning to now, Uchiha Chen did not exert all his strength, otherwise certainly not so easy. And just now, she also paid attention to the situation of her two guards, and found that their situation is also quite bad. They are completely suppressed. If this continues, it will be a matter of time to lose, so she is also secretly anxious. Are already thinking about how to evacuate, otherwise, once the other party gets serious, they are likely to be wiped out this time. Oh since that's the case, let's try again, but this time I have to show a little bit of my skills, so don't let me down. Chen's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and he grinned at Shui Ying. Said, at the same time, the momentum on his body suddenly changed, full of violence and murderousness. Obviously Chen has become serious. Feeling the change in Chen's momentum, Shui Ying became more vigilant and did not dare to relax at all, because she knew that if she was a little careless, she would probably die because of it. So, before Chen started to attack, Shui Ying had already formed the seal and wanted to seize the opportunity. However, before she completed the seal, Chen, who was opposite her, had already moved, controlling Susanoo, raising the Amaterasu blade in her hand and suddenly slashing at Sui Ying. And Sui Ying saw this and had to go to after jumping up to dodge. She knew the power of Amaterasu's fire. A knife slashed into the air, slashed on the lake, and a huge wave was raised, and even the ground of the water was blown apart, and the entire lake terrain was instantly destroyed. While the water shadow was dodging, the movement of the hand still did not stop, and the knot seal was completed in midair. Wrong escape, the technique of dissolving monsters. I saw Sui Ying's cheeks bulging, which is the precursor to launching ninjutsu, and has locked Chen on the ground, but she has not yet allowed her to release ninjutsu, and Chen on the ground has no warning for a moment. The disappearance of made Shui Ying stunned for a moment, remembered the legend about Uchiha Chen, and already felt bad in his heart. Before she could think about it, there was a huge sense of crisis behind her, and Shui Ying instinctively wanted to escape, but she just had this thought. And before she had time to act, she suddenly felt a sharp pain in her body, and her whole body seemed to be he was hit by a train, flew towards the ground, and hit the ground hard. The huge impact even cracked the ground, raising a burst of sand and dust, and the heavily hit water shadow was lying on the cracked ground, struggling, looking very embarrassed, with a trace of red on the corner of his mouth. Blood, apparently wounded. Chapter 245. White Eyes Blue Tragic Death. Shui Ying, who was knocked down on the ground by a heavy blow, was struggling to stand up from the ground at this time, but she was obviously in a bad state at the moment. Injured. Shui Ying, who had just stood up from the ground, looked up at where she was before, only to realize that Uchiha Chen, who had disappeared from her sight just now, was in midair, looking at her playfully. Without thinking, the person who attacked her just now was Chen Uchiha, who couldn't help but said angrily, "Damn it. This is the technique of flying thunder gods with golden glitter. I forgot that he mastered the legendary space ninjutsu. What a careless thing." Chen just now had indeed activated the technique of flying thunder god, and just before Mizukage was about to perform ninjutsu on him, he had already jumped behind Mizukage, and in an instant he condensed Susanoo, and controlled Susanichi. The fist knocked Mizuyage, who was in midair, to the ground again. Suzuo's punch was no joke. He was hit with all his strength by Susa. Chen expected things. Mizukage's injury has affected the entire battle situation. As Mizukage's guards, whether it is the young Changjuro or the old-fashioned Ao, they always pay attention to Mizukage's situation during the battle. Naturally, they find it immediately knowing the situation of Shui Ying. Seeing the moment Shui Ying was shot down, I couldn't help feeling anxious. The life and death duel between masters is the most avoidable distraction. However, when Changjuro and Ching saw Sui Ying being shot down, they couldn't care about it. Naturally will not miss such an opportunity. Ha 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 tilde die. I saw Shigego laughing wildly, and his body was full of violent aura, which was completely opposite to the gentle and steady character before. It was obviously affected by the curse mark, and he became a cold-blooded and murderous character, and his attack power became more fierce. And his opponent is Ao of Wuyin, who is no longer Changwu's opponent, and has been supporting it all the time. Now his heart is in chaos, and he is unable to withstand Changwu's fierce attack. After several heavy blows from Changwu, he vomited blood and flew out. And finally fell on the ground and was still castrated, and was dragged away for a certain distance. At this moment, he was dying, and his consciousness was already blurred. Although he wanted to struggle hard, he was helpless. Looking at Changwu, who was walking towards him step by step, he clearly understood his fate, and his heart couldn't help but feel bitter. Have I come to this is the end? Well, I'm not reconciled, Mizuying. Sire. Until now, Qing's heart is still worried about Shuiying's safety, but unfortunately he is powerless now. Finally, Changwu walked in front of him, with a bloodthirsty smile on his face. He slowly bent down, stretched out his hand to grab Qing's neck, lifted him up, and clasped his other hand on Qing's head. Ha 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 tilde die. In the mad laughter of Changwu, the arm that was buckled on Qing's head was able to exert force, only to hear a crisp sound of a broken bone, and then saw Qing's head was twisted off by Zhongwu. The sound of bone cracking just now was obviously it was the reason why the bones on Qing's neck were torn apart. The headless corpse, spewing blood like a spring, splashed on Changwu's hideous face, but Changwu didn't mean to hide at all. On the contrary, he was very angry. Showing an expression of enjoyment, he even licked the blood spattered on his mouth, and smiled cruelly, which made him even more terrified. If you look from a distance, you will see a man with a ferocious figure, like a devil, holding a headless corpse in one hand and a human head in the other, laughing wildly. His body has been dyed red with blood, just like a scene like hell. Even the daring people will be frightened when they see it. Senior Green Tilda. On the other side, after hearing Ao's screams, Chengjiro subconsciously looked over and saw this scene that made his heart break. His respected senior Ao was killed in such a cruel way. It is impossible to describe his mood at the moment. There is anger, unwillingness, sadness, and even a trace of fear, which finally turned into a roar of grief and indignation. Tilde I dare to be distracted in the battle with the enemy. I really want to kill myself. But this guy, Chang'o, is as perverted as always. That's why I don't like him so much. Shuiyu naturally found the situation on Chang'o's side. For Shigego's cruelty and perversion, even as a teammate, he felt disgusted and said in disgust, "Bastards! I must kill you." At this time, Chengjiro's heart was already filled with hatred. Hatred had transformed him. He was no longer the simple and shy boy he used to be, and now he only had one thought, that is, to kill the enemy in front of him, and then kill the executioner who tortured Ao cut to pieces to avenge Qing. With a roar, Chojiro made another shot, and the first shot was with all his strength. With the blessing of anger, Chojiro's power became a little stronger, and Shuiyu felt a little pressure for a while. It's a pity that not everyone is the protagonist's life, and not everyone can tear up the opponent with a burst. Although Chengjiro's strength is much stronger than before, he can deal with a battle-hardened elite ninja like Suzuki. It was still a little short. The outbreak at the beginning did cause Shuiyu to be stunned for a short time, but it was only for a short time. After all, although Chengjiro's strength has increased due to anger, his state of mind has already lost his reason. A ninja who has lost his calmness and judgment cannot survive for too long on the battlefield. Sure enough, not long after the fight, Shuiyu had recovered, not only blocking Chengjiro's offensive, but also suppressing him. Looking at Chengjiro who was struggling to support, Suzui suddenly knocked Chengjiro back with a knife and looked at Chengjiro with disdain. With a sneer, he said, "Chi. As one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, is your strength only at this level? The flat-eye flounder is really buried in the hands of a waste like you, but this situation will soon end. Because of this pair of knives, flat-eyed flounder, I'm going to make it." Bastard, go to hell. The ridiculed Changjuro roared angrily, raised the flatfish in his hand, and carried the chakra frantically, making the flatfish's knife shine with silver light, and the high concentration of chakra formed a huge chakra on the flatfish. The disc-shaped chakra ball exudes a dangerous aura, which is several times stronger than the momentum when it was just liberated before. Feeling the momentum emanating from the flatfish, even the arrogant Shueyu can't help but become dignified. Because Changjiro's goal has been locked, it is obvious that it is Suzuki. P.S. Ask for collection. Please customize. Chapter 246, The Reliance of Shueyu. The chakra disc condensed on the flat-eyed flounder was released at any time, feeling the pressure from it, and Shueyu's face also became dignified, and he didn't care anymore. However, unexpectedly, facing the threat of flat-eyed flounder, Shueyu did not take defense. Instead, she inserted the decapitation knife in her hand into the ground, as if she planned to give up using the decapitation knife, and then her hands quickly formed a seal. Water escape. Blast water. Shueyu gave up the beheading sword and switched to water escape ninjutsu, spit out a large amount of water from his mouth to form a torrent, like a tsunami, rushing towards Changjuro. It's a pity that the blast wave is obviously not suitable for use as an attack method. I saw that when the water flow was about to engulf Changjuro, he saw Changjuro suddenly jump into the air, and he easily escaped the attack of the blast wave. But the ground has long been covered by the water formed by the water escape of Shueyu, and it has become a lake terrain. There was no way, when he landed, Chojuro could only condense the chakra under his feet, stand on the water, and at the same time continue to transport the chakra towards the flatfish. Although Suzuki's attack failed to hit Changjuro, his goal had been achieved. At this time, there was a vast ocean under his feet and Changjiro's feet. The ninjutsu just now was obviously only for creating terrain. In the face of the oppression from the flatfish, although Shueyu is dignified, it does not mean that he will be afraid. I saw that he looked at the lake he created with satisfaction, and said to Changjuro with a sneer, I didn't intend to. I used this, but it seems that I really underestimate you, so I can't help but use some means. Humph, try it out if you have any means. Today I will kill you no matter what. At this time, Changjuro was so angry that he lost his mind. Shank shouted at Shueyu. After a short accumulation of momentum, the energy of the flatfish in Changjiro's hand finally reached its peak. The disc above the blade exudes a dazzling silver light, as if it has the ability to destroy the sky and destroy the earth. Such power is obviously beyond ordinary. At this moment, ninjutsu was unexpectedly released by Chojuro, who is only capable of Josuke. Emotions are indeed capable of affecting people's strength, making people exert extraordinary power, whether it is anger or sadness. At this moment, Changjuro is undoubtedly inspired by these two emotions to have extraordinary potential. Go to hell. With the roar of Changjuro, the flatfish in his hand suddenly slashed towards Suzue, and the disc hovering on the knife seemed to have a vent, and the violent chakra was like a torrent of dikes bursting. With an incomparable the power came towards Shueyu, like a tailed beast cannon. It was so powerful that wherever it went, everything was propped up by this violent energy, and even the water surface was plowed out of a ditch. However, in the face of such terrifying power, Shueyu did not panic, and did not even mean to dodge, but suddenly pulled out a scroll from behind, and then threw the scroll in her hand into the air. Boom! Accompanied by a cloud of smoke, the scroll turned into a large knife that was tied with bandages and only exposed the handle. This is the ninja tool used by the dried persimmon ghost shark. It only recognizes its own master ghost shark and will attack others, except Kurabi. It was a large knife covered with bandages, and under the bandages was a black blade covered with barbs. This knife has life and can absorb the opponent's chakra in battle, and it is used by the dry persimmon ghost to defeat the four-tailed person Zuri alone. It's just that after the dried persimmon ghost shark captured the four-tailed man Zuli, he was killed by Uchiha Chen. Given it to Shueyu, she never thought that Shueyu would be able to tame this living and conscious ninja knife, but the result was beyond Chen's expectations. Although I don't know what method Shueyu used, It really made the shark muscle compromise, but after thinking about it, it was mentioned in the original book that Shueyu's brother, Ghost Light Full Moon, can skillfully use Wyan's 7 ninja swords, which naturally include shark muscle, and as his younger brother, Shueyu should not be far behind. There must be some way to control the shark muscle, otherwise, he would not have been clamoring to snatch the ghost shark's shark muscle. Today's shark muscle has become Suzuki's second ninja sword, but he has always used the beheading sword to fight. At this time, in the face of Chengjuro's extraordinary ninjutsu, he felt a little pressure, so he used it. Shark Muscle Challenge. After the shark muscle fell into the hands of Shueyu, the blade of the shark muscle suddenly swelled a bit, breaking the bandage that wrapped the blade body, revealing the black and hideous blade body. At the front end of the blade body, there was a big mouth, full of scorpions. Teeth are like a strange fish. Water escape. Water giant. Shueyu shouted, transported chakra, and controlled a large amount of water around the body, forming a huge giant water monster. It was said to be a water giant, but it was actually more like a giant water monster. At this time, Shueyu was in the center of the strange fish. The lower body has disappeared, and it has merged into the water, and the shark muscle that was in his hand just now is leaning on the head of the strange fish. Beast Artillery General Big Move to Contend. This trick is the ninjutsu used by the Eagle Squad in the original book when they were capturing the 8-tailed man Zuli, in order to give Sasuke and the others time to escape and stay alone to block the 8-tailed virtual dog cannon. It is a pity that in the original work Zhang Shueyu's fate was extremely tragic. Although she didn't die, she was beaten into a lump of jelly by 8-tail's virtual dog cannon and lost consciousness. However, the current Shueyu has undergone earth-shaking changes compared to the original work. Not to mention the strength has become stronger, even the weapon has been replaced with a shark muscle. You must know that the shark muscle is not comparable to a beheading sword. Its biggest feature it is to be able to devour chakra and take the enemy's chakra as his own. This is the reliance of Shueyu. Chapter 247, Shueyu's Dream. Finally, the powerful ninjutsu released from the flat-eyed flounder, with fierce power, collided with the water monster condensed by Shueyu. Suddenly, the silver light made a masterpiece, and the chakra exploded in an instant, emitting a dazzling light. The water monster condensed by the water moon was pushed out a distance by the powerful force of the flat-eyed flounder, but even so, the water monster still insisted. It was not scattered. In the face of such power, Shueyu also exerted all her strength, desperately outputting chakra to maintain the form of a water monster, and finally blocked Chengjuro's super blow. This is not over yet. I saw that the water monster opened its mouth at this time, constantly swallowing the powerful ninjutsu chakra. Under the action of the shark muscle, that power is constantly weakening, and the water monster as he devoured that chakra, his body gradually grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, the water monster devoured the powerful force released by the flat-eyed flounder, and such a violent attack dissipated like this. No, it didn't dissipate, but all entered the belly of the shark muscle. After swallowing up the chakra, the shark muscle seemed to taste the delicious food, and even grinned and made a strange laugh of kakaka, and the shape of the shark muscle also swallowed a lot of chakra. It swelled up and became even more ferocious, looking more like a monster full of barbs, and the water monster maintained by Shueyu also increased a lot, more than doubling in size. That is to say, Chengjuro's desperate blow not only failed to hurt Suzui as he wished, but instead enhanced Suzuki's strength. On the other side, Chojuro, who released the ultimate move, became a little weak at this time, because he had fought with Shueyu for a long time, and just now because of anger, he released a major move recklessly, and the chakra was exhausted. He was sweating profusely, panting violently, showing exhaustion. While slowly recovering chakra, he secretly said, "Hit. Hit." He died. Chengjuro is very confident in the extraordinary move just now. No one knows the power of that move better than him. He can feel the power of that power from his angry blow, even if it is a shadow-level powerhouse. He could be seriously injured by that blow. If he was caught off guard, he might even die. He didn't think that Shueyu's strength alone would make him safe from that blow. However, Before he could catch his breath, what happened next made the heart that was about to be relieved suddenly lift up again, because he felt that Shueyu's chakra did not disappear, but became stronger and stronger. Then he saw a scene that shocked him. The water monster condensed by the other party is opening its mouth wide, greedily swallowing his chakra, and finally absorbed by the black weird thing on the head of the water monster. His ninjutsu is gradually weakening, and the other party has absorbed his chakra. His chakra is actually getting stronger and stronger. In the end, in Changero's terrified eyes, the black monster swallowed up the big move he made, and made a strange sound of ka tilde, as if mocking Changero's attack. How is this possible? My ninjutsu was actually absorbed. What is that? Seeing such a result, Changero was obviously hit a lot. At this moment, he seemed to have lost all his strength, and was paralyzed on the water and shouted absent-mindedly. Different from Changero's depression, he felt the continuous flow of chakra from the shark muscle. The chakra consumed by the battle with Changero just now had recovered. Shueyu was naturally excited, looked at the shark muscle frantically, and said with a smile. It's amazing, the chakra is full, as expected of a shark muscle, it didn't disappoint me, it feels like I have an inexhaustible amount of chakra. With some emotion, Shueyu dispersed the water monster and landed on the water steadily. Of course, because there was water below, Shueyu had already condensed the chakra under her feet, standing on the water like a flat ground. And the shark muscle, which had become huge, was being held in his hand, and he sneered and walked towards Changero. At this time, Changero came back to his senses when he saw Shueyu walking towards him, but the amount of chakra consumed by the move just now was too large, and Changero had not recovered for a while. Of course, he also knew that Shueyu was definitely going to take action against him. Although chakra did not recover, Changero would not sit still and quickly reset himself. Holding a double knife flat-eye flatfish, he assumed a defensive posture and watched the water vigilantly. In case of his attack. As Suzuki approached, Changero finally saw the shark muscle in his hand. He clearly knew that his ninjutsu would fail entirely because of this thing, because it absorbed all his ninjutsu. That's why the current situation is caused, so he naturally cares very much. The black body is full of barbs and can absorb the opponent's chakra in battle, and after absorbing the ninjutsu, the weird laughter from its huge mouth is obviously a sign of life and can meet some conditions. There is only one thing in the ninja world. Big knife shark muscle. Looking at the hideous shape, Chojuro exclaimed in disbelief. Shueyu fiddled with the shark muscle in his hand, as if showing off, and sneered at Changero. Yes, it's the shark muscle, one of the 7 ninja swords, are you surprised? Changero asked in a rude manner. How is it possible? Isn't the shark muscle in the hands of the former Kurikan ninja swordsman's current Kurikan rebellion ninja Persimmon Shark? How can it be here with you? Each of Karayan's 7 ninja swords has special and powerful abilities. The ninja with the title of the 7 ninja swordsman is definitely a very powerful ninja in the village of Karayan, but in the eyes of others, the 7 ninja swordsmen are already something of the past, an organization that doesn't exist. However, the 7 ninja swords still has a special feeling for Karayan village, especially the younger generation of ninjas want to reorganize the 7 ninja swords and restore the reputation of the 7 ninja swords. Even those who have betrayed Karayan the village's Shueyu has such a dream to collect the 7 ninja swords so persistently. That's why Changero was so complacent when he saw that Suzuki not only possessed a beheading sword but also this shark muscle. Chapter 248, Changero is restrained. That's right, this shark muscle was originally in the hands of the ghost shark, but now it's my trophy. Suzuki seemed to enjoy Changero's gaze, and even more shamelessly handed Chen over to his shark muscle. Said to be his booty. The spoils. Could it be that the dried persimmon ghost shark has been taken by you? Shueyu didn't admit it, but Lingmo laughed a few times, making Changero even more convinced. It's not just this shark muscle. My goal is to collect 7 ninja knives. No matter how difficult it is, I have to complete this goal, and now I have 2, plus the flat-eyed flounder in your hand. The goal is one step closer, so. Double knives, flat-eye flounder, I am determined to achieve it. Speaking of this, Shueyu's expression was full of firmness, as if she thought that she would definitely succeed. What? When Changjiro heard this, he was once again shocked by Shueyu, and his heart moved. After all, he also has this goal, but he knows clearly that it is easier said than done to gather the 7 ninja knives again. The ninja sword didn't even know where it was left, or in whose hands, let alone all 7. However, after hearing Shueyu's words at this time, Changjiro's heart seemed to be touched. Looking at Shueyu's firm expression, Changjiro knew that it was not a joke, and there was even a surprise in Changjiro's heart. Thought, maybe, that guy will really succeed. However, the paradox is that one of the 7 ninja knives, the flat-eye flatfish, is in his hands, but the person in front of him is his opponent. Although he agrees with Shueyu's goal in his heart, he wants to let him use the flat-eye flatfish. It is impossible to hand over someone else, not to mention that this person is Kurik's betrayal. Thinking of this, Changjiro can't help but hold the flatfish in his hand even more tightly. You're not my opponent, and that move just now should have consumed a lot of your chakra. It's even more impossible for you to win me now, but I don't really want to kill you, so I obediently handed over the flat-eyed flounder. I'll let you live. This may be because they both use the 7 ninja swords, or because the two have the same dream. Shueyu did not kill Changjiro while he was not recovering, but advised Changjiro instead. Road. Impossible. No matter what, I will not give you the flatfish, and you also killed Mr. Ching, I will not let you go. Hearing Suzuki's words, Changjiro didn't even think about it, and moved towards Shueyu roared, and at the same time assumed an offensive stance, obviously not wanting to say anything more to Shueyu, although his current state is very bad, but he will not be caught, let alone compromise like Shueyu. Really, if that's the case, there's nothing I can do. Although I don't want to kill you, I have to get the flatfish, so I have to be sorry. Looking at Changjiro with a firm expression, Suzuki knew that there was no possibility of compromise. He just said sorry, and didn't speak anymore, and the expression on his face became indifferent. It was you who attacked just now, this time it's my turn. Shueyu raised the shark muscle in her hand and said coldly, obviously planning to take the initiative to attack. Humph, come on Tilda, Changjiro snorted coldly, and at the same time lifted the only remaining chakra in his body. In an instant, the flat-eye flounder lit up again, but it is a pity that his current state has obviously not recovered, and even his momentum is better than it was weaker just now. Stubborn. As soon as the voice fell, Shueyu had a serious flash of color, and her body melted into the water in an instant and disappeared from Changjiro's sight. This is the secret technique of the ghost lamp family. It can not only liquefy, but also completely melt into the water. Appear anywhere. Changjiro obviously knew the secret technique of the ghost lamp clan, so when he saw Shueyu disappearing, he knew that the other party had merged into the water. Because he knew that in the next moment, Shueyu would definitely come out from somewhere to attack him. Behind. The cautious Changjiro suddenly felt a change behind him, accompanied by a sense of crisis, which made him turn around like a conditioned reflex, and suddenly chopped the flatfish in his hand. What appeared behind Changjiro was indeed Shueyu. At the moment when he merged into the water, he came to the back of Changjiro and jumped out of the water. However, Changjiro was worthy of being a Junin, and he immediately noticed any changes behind him. Shueyu had just exposed her upper body from the water surface, and before she could fully climb out of the water, Changjiro's attack had already struck and slashed at Shueyu's body in an instant. Whoa Tilda. The imagined scene of blood splattering did not appear, and I saw that the Shueyu in front of him was cut into a splash of water after being cut by a flatfish. This is water separation. Oops. Seeing this, Changjiro was alert, and he secretly thought that something was wrong. He didn't allow him to think too much, and a sense of crisis came from behind him again, but this time his movements were obviously slow, and his body couldn't keep up with the reaction, so he didn't allow him. Turning around, a kunai was already on his neck, making his next movements stagnant. Don't move, you will die. Immediately after, An indifferent voice came from behind Changjiro. You didn't even need to look at Changjiro to know who the owner of this voice was. He couldn't help feeling bitterness in his heart. He knew that he had lost. The person behind Changjiro is Suzuki, and it was indeed Suzuki's water body that was split by Changjiro before, because Suzui knew that Changjiro was tense just now, and it was not easy to subdue him instantly, so he merged into the water. At that time, a water body was created, and the water body was attacked from behind Changjiro, but it was just a feint. Shueyu did not expect a water body to be able to solve Changjiro. The main purpose of the water body is to disperse the Long. Jiro's attention was nothing. Sure enough, Chojiro, who was in a tense state, noticed the change behind him, and reflected it at that moment, almost as soon as the water body just emerged, and the water body just emerged, half of the body, Long. Jiro's flat-eye flatfish was already there, and he split the water away without any hindrance. It's a pity that it wasn't the real Suzuki. As early as when Changjiro just turned around and attacked the water body, Suzuki appeared from the other side of the water body and formed a flanking attack with the water body. Because Changjiro was attacking the water body, so back to the moon. It was too late to say, but it was fast. Although I reacted at the moment when I broke the scattered water, it was already too late. At the same time as I broke the scattered water, Suzuki shot almost at the same time. But Shueyu's big sword shark muscle has been replaced by kunai, and it seems that he does not intend to take Changjiro's life. From the disappearance of Shueyu to the appearance, it took no more than 3 seconds before and after. In this brief moment, Changjiro was already controlled by Shueyu, and life and death were only between Shueyu's thoughts. Chapter 249, Double Knife. As a member of the Eagle Squad, Shueyu has always followed Chen and participated in a lot of battles. No matter in terms of strength or combat experience, he is undoubtedly much stronger than the newcomer Changjiro. Got it, just a simple water split, and it was easy to subdue Changjiro. You lost, although I didn't really want to kill you, but you are so stubborn, I have no choice but to be sorry. Since you are not capable of defending the flatfish, then hand it over. Shueyu's icy cold voice once again in the tone of voice without the slightest emotion. Changjiro could feel that if he changed a little bit, then Ku would definitely cut his throat without hesitation. Feeling the chill emanating from the kunai on his neck, Chojiro seemed to have lost all of his strength, recalling the encouragement Mizukage had given him before he set off, and finally laughed at himself. Sure enough. I still can't do it. Mizukage-sama, I'm sorry. I failed your expectations. Regardless of Changjiro's current mood, Shueyu said indifferently, you now have 2 choices. One is to live, hand over the flatfish, and then obediently go back to Wuyin village. The other is that I will kill you now, and then take the flatfish yourself, and if you're smart you know what to choose. The choice between life and death, as long as it is not an ignorant person, it is not difficult to choose. Chojiro is a ninja of Kirigaki. In the past, under the tyranny of the 4th generation of Mizukage, the graduation exam of the Mist Ninja Village had to kill each other with his own graduates of the same period. There may be his own classmates and friends among them, so cruel in the graduation examination, other countries gave the Mist Ninja Village the notoriety of Blood Mist. At the same time, because of this, Korean Village has the highest rate of rebellious ninjas among the 5 major ninja villages, but this situation has improved after Terumi Mei took over as the 5th generation of Mizukage and implemented an open-door policy. As the guard of the 5 generations of Water Shadows, he is naturally loyal to the Water Shadows and the village of Fog Hidden, and he will certainly not beg for mercy from the enemy easily. At this time, he had recovered from the initial depression, and was under the pressure of death from the water and the moon and suffering. Hatred, anger, and remorse were intertwined, tormenting him fiercely. After all, he was only an 18-year-old boy. Although he had been educated by a cruel ninja, he suddenly suffered the tragic death of his teammates in his own eyes. There is something that he is unable to do something, even himself is controlled by others, and his life is in the hands of others. This kind of experience can prevent him from collapsing, which is already very good. No one wants to die. Although he is not afraid of death, He really wants to fight with each other, but the remaining reason keeps telling him that he is not allowed to do so. Changjuro took a deep breath, his eyes regained clarity, he tried his best to suppress all the mixed emotions, and kept saying to himself in his heart, "Calm down, I must calm down now, I want to live, Mizuyang-sama is in a very difficult situation right now. Wonderful, at least let Mizuyang-sama get out of the current danger." Although Changjuro was very nervous, he couldn't just die like this, or at least he had to make sure that Mizukage could escape from here safely, so he could die with peace of mind. Although he didn't know why Suzuki didn't kill him, no matter what it was, this is undoubtedly his only chance, because he knows that he is not the opponent's opponent now, and now there is a chance to survive in front of him. He naturally has to seize it. More than 10 years of ninja education tells him that only by living there is hope for revenge, and only by living can there be a future. "I understand, Flatfish, take it." Changjuro pressed the hatred in his heart, but when he said this, he still couldn't help revealing a hint of helplessness and reluctance. For him, it is not just a weapon, but also has a special meaning and feeling. It is naturally heartbreaking and reluctant to let him give up Flat-Eyed Flounder now. Although he was reluctant, compared to the safety of Mizuyang, the latter is undoubtedly more important. After this change, Changjuro was undoubtedly forced to grow up a lot, and he was no longer the shy boy with no opinion. So Changjuro made a decision without too much entanglement. A wise choice. Nothing is more important than saving your life. After receiving Changjuro's wise answer, Shueyu showed a smile on his face, and at the same time, he retracted the sling that was placed on Changjuro's neck. Kunai, he is not worried that Changjuro is not playing tricks because he is confident that he will be able to kill Changjuro at the moment of any wrongdoing. On the other hand, Changjuro felt that Shueyu's killing intent disappeared, and he was secretly relieved. He knew what to do, so he did not take the opportunity to resist, but slowly raised the flatfish in his hand, looking at the one in his hand with a complicated expression. Flat-Eye Flounder gritted his teeth and closed his eyes, determined to throw the flat-eye flatfish in his hand suddenly into the air, and finally, Shueyu reached out and caught it, and another one of the 7 ninja knives fell into Shueyu's hand. Double knife Flat-Eye Flounder, I finally got it back by my ghost lamp Shueyu. Shueyu was naturally very happy when she got the 7 ninja knives again, thinking that the user of this double knife flat-eye flatfish was his favorite when he was a child. The elder brother whom he admires and wants to surpass the most, Ghost Light Full Moon, is an elite ninja who can skillfully use 7 ninja knives, and his strength is even more unfathomable. At this time, Changjuro suddenly opened his eyes, turned to face Suzuki, looked firmly at the flatfish in Suzuki's hands, and said firmly, "One day, I will definitely take back all the 7 ninja swords." For Changjuro's words, Suzuki just sneered a few times and said disdainfully, the 4th generation of Mizukage once ordered the expulsion of all the blood descendants in the village of Kurigakura, although the 4th generation of Mizukage was controlled by Uchiha Madara. Yes, but our Ghost Lamp clan has suffered a great disaster because of the order of the 4th generation of Water Shadows. I don't have any good feelings for Wuin Village. I'll let you go this time for the sake of my life in Wuin Village. I have done my best to you Wuin, and the next time you dare to appear in front of me, you will not have the luck you have today. After finishing speaking, Shueyu ignored President Juro, and resealed the shark muscle and the flatfish into the scroll, then walked to the front of the beheading sword, carried the beheading sword, and walked towards Shigego. Chapter 250, Angry Water Shadow. After solving Changjuro, Shueyu walked towards Shigego. As for whether Changjuro will leave or stay, this is not something he should think about. Anyway, he has already let him go, and he is worthy of being in Wuin Village. The friendship that I have been waiting for is the end of benevolence and righteousness. On the other side, Changwu, after eliminating the white eyes, threw the corpse in his hand. Although the battle was over, the violence on Changwu never subsided, and his reason was still filled with the desire to kill. At this time, he was looking around as if he was still looking for a target. Changwu, who has entered the state of the curse, has been filled with the desire to kill and lost his mind, and has become a monster who only knows how to kill. Only Tatsu and Sasuke with a kaleidoscope can deter him. Anyone who comes into his sight will be his prey. In the end, Shueyu, who was walking towards him with a beheading sword, entered his line of sight, and naturally became the target of Chongo, who had already fallen into a state of killing. The fist that had become hideous because of the transformation suddenly attacked him. Wow! A violent punch with a whistling sound suddenly slammed on Shueyu's head. With a powerful blow, Shueyu's head was blown directly. Shueyu's head seemed to be filled with water. The balloon exploded, and water splashed everywhere, but unfortunately, for the Ghost Lantern clan who could ignore physical attacks, a pure brute force attack like Changwu was useless to Shueyu. Sure enough, in just a few seconds, the water splashes scattered by Chongo gradually recondensed, forming the shape of a head, and the outline of Shueyu appeared. At the same time, a ball of water polo appeared out of nowhere, covering Changwu's head like a headgear, making him unable to breathe, and his hands kept tearing the water polo on his head, trying to tear it apart, but no matter what he did with force, the water polo didn't break apart from being squeezed and deformed continuously. After a period of time, Chongo, who was unable to breathe, gradually lost his strength, and the power of the curse mark could no longer be maintained, and gradually retracted into the body. Chongo also recovered from the hideous monster to his original simple and honest appearance, and collapsed to the ground powerlessly. Seeing this, Shueyu dissipated the water ball that was placed on Changwu's head, and complained very unhappily, "Damn, I was almost killed by you. So I said that in the team, the person I hate the most is you. Every time I'm nervous." As the curse seal dissipated, Changwu naturally regained his senses. He was coughing violently on the ground. After hearing Shueyu's complaints, he looked at Shueyu apologetically and said, "Sorry. I can't control myself." Quote. Seeing Changwu's appearance, Shueyu really couldn't be angry. After all, he also knew that this was not Changwu's original intention. Not to mention that he had already apologized, so Shueyu didn't care about anything, just waved his hand and said helplessly, forget it. I won't bother with you about that punch just now. I'm used to it anyway. Since we have already solved it here, let's hurry up and join the boss." After a period of buffering, Shigego was relieved, struggling to get up from the ground, and the two rushed towards the place where Chen and Suiying were fighting. On the other side of the battlefield, the battle between Suiying and Chen is continuing. Although he was careless just now, he suffered a blow from Susanoo and suffered a lot of trauma, but Suiying is a shadow-level powerhouse after all. Being knocked down so easily, he has stood up again to face Chen. However, at this time, there was a scream from a distance, which made Suiying tremble, because she could hear it. The scream was obviously made by her guard Qing, and she already had a bad premonition in her heart. Turned around and looked at the scene where Qing was mentioned by Changwu, which made her extremely angry. She wanted to stop it, but it was too late. She could only watch her subordinates being brutally murdered. Only the cruel murderer laughed wildly like a demon. Asshole. At this moment, Sui Ying's face was undisguised, and his anger was extremely high, and a strong killing intent erupted from his body. His eyes almost burst out with real anger, and he could not wait to tear the cruel murderer into pieces. After all, Qing, the guard who has been with her for the longest time, is even more loyal. Now that she is brutally murdered in front of her face, the anger of Sui Ying can be imagined. Sui Ying's hatred attacked her heart, her throat became hot, and then she spit out a mouthful of blood. She had already gone through a fierce battle before and was severely injured. Now that she suddenly saw such a situation, she directly suffered internal injuries. I've never been in this situation before and replaced it with an ordinary person. I've been blinded by hatred for a long time, and I rushed to find the murderer desperately. Eyeing him, once he loses his mind because of anger, then what awaits him will be a cruel ending. Changwu. This guy, still can't fix this problem, it's really cruel. Chen also saw what happened on Changwu's side, shook his head and pretended to exaggerate. He was so angry that he had no scruples at all. Extreme water shadow. U tilde G tilde Bo tilde Chen tilde. At this time, Shui Ying had already suppressed the anger in his heart, looked at Chen coldly, and said word by word. Chen naturally didn't care about Shui Ying's current mood, just sneered a few times and said to Shui Ying, "Don't look at me like that, it's not me who killed your subordinates." It is useless to say anything in the current situation. The two sides are already in an endless situation. It is impossible to give up after a few words, so Sui Ying did not talk nonsense, but still looked at Chen coldly, but she did not blindly doing it. From the professor just now, she already knew the gap between herself and the enemy, and she could only look for the opponent's flaws and find an opportunity to do it. Only then would there be a glimmer of hope. But she didn't do it. It didn't mean that Chen would be so exhausted. Since Changwu and the others have already solved the battle, and he is the leader, of course, he can't drag it on any longer, and he already wants to solve the battle here. So, Chen's eyes changed, and he put away his joking expression and said in a low voice, "Since Changwu and the others have solved it, then I can't be left behind, let's end it as soon as possible." Hearing Chen's whispers, Shui Ying's expression condensed, and he became more alert, his eyes fixed on Chen, secretly guarding against Chen's sudden attack. Chen didn't care about Sui Ying's vigilance. The momentum of the whole body was suddenly mentioned, and then the whole person disappeared in place, and appeared in front of Sui Ying in a flash. This is Chen's space ninjutsu, Fei Lei Shen. It's just that Shui Ying has suffered from Fei Lei Shen just now, so he was prepared for Chen's move. In addition, he had been staring at Chen just now, and he was already alert when Chen disappeared, so he waited until Chen appeared again. She had already reacted, and at the same time, he preemptively launched an attack on Chen who had just appeared in front of him. Wrongdoing. As soon as he made a shot, it was his own proud trick, a very lethal wrongdoing, and at such a close distance, Shui Ying believed that it was impossible for anyone to escape in such a near-zero distance situation. Chapter 251, Despair. At such a distance, if it was someone else, it might be impossible to escape, but for Chen, it was very simple. Facing Sui Ying's ultimate move, Chen's face showed no panic at all, and there was an indifferent smile at the corner of his mouth. Also failed. So fast. Seeing Uchiha Shin disappearing again, Shui Ying frowned, and couldn't help sighing in her heart. The legendary Flying Thunder God really deserves his reputation. I have clearly locked Uchiha Shin's breath, and counted his appearance. Orientation. I found the best chance to get out. Even a shadow-level powerhouse can't escape safely, but I didn't expect him to be able to dodge completely. With this Flying Thunder God technique, it is difficult to get rid of Uchiha Chen. Maybe, I'm really going to be planted here today. Shui Ying's face was already pale. With deep fear in her eyes, she cautiously sensed Chen's position, and did not dare to act rashly, not even blinking. After seeing the speed of Fei Lei Shen, she had no confidence to be able to when the attack came to Chen. He could only raise his spirits to guard against Chen's attack, hoping to find an opportunity to counterattack. In the blink of an eye, Chen, who disappeared just now, has reappeared, but has changed his position and appeared behind Shui Ying. As soon as he showed his body shape, Chen had attacked Sui Ying without stopping, but Chen did not use ninjutsu, and only attacked with taijutsu, an extremely simple punch, and attacked Sui Ying's back. As Mizukage, Terumi Mei's reaction ability is naturally not bad. She has already noticed and reacted at the moment of Chen's appearance, and hurriedly turned around to defend, but at this time, Chen's fist had already attacked in front of her. Mizukage could only rush. He crossed his hands in front of Shang, hoping to block the opponent's attack. Due to Shui Ying's quick response, Chen's punch just hit Shui Ying's arm. However, as soon as he touched it, Shui Ying's expression became painful. Chen's seemingly simple punch actually contained an astonishing amount of pain. Feeling the strength from the fist, made Sui Ying stunned. Then, in the scream of Sui Ying, his body flew backwards uncontrollably, obviously caused by the strength of Chen's punch. Although it is only a physical attack, you must know that Chen, who has the strange force, must have amazing power, and Mizukage is not a master of physical training such as Tsunade and Reikage. Naturally, He can't bear the blow of the strange force and is sent flying out. It's over. After Shui Ying was knocked away, a sneer appeared on Chen's face again, a cold glow appeared in his eyes, and the whole person disappeared in place again. At the time, Chen's figure had already appeared in the sky above the water shadow, and the lightning flashed on his body, and finally all condensed under his feet. Yi Lei Shen anger. Thunder axe. Terrifying thunder and lightning entangled at Chen's feet, with a tyrannical power in Sui Ying's terrified eyes, and already slammed towards Sui Ying, even if it was Lei Ying, who had an amazing physique and a Lei Dun armor. After enduring this move, they were all injured, not to mention Sui Ying, whose physical skills were not obvious. If he was hit by this move, even Sui Ying with shadow-level strength would definitely be seriously injured. In the case of no way to borrow, Sui Ying naturally cannot change his body to avoid it, but in the face of such oppression, Sui Ying does not want to sit still, wants to form a seal, and hopes to release ninjutsu to resist. It was just that she was about to make a move when there was a piercing pain in her arm. It was obvious that her arm had been severely injured when she resisted Chen's strange force fist. Printed. Time didn't allow her to think too much, because Chen's attack had already arrived. In desperation, Shui Ying could only madly carry the chakra in her body, spreading all over her body, hoping to be able to withstand Chen's attack. Boom! With a dull sound, Chen's powerful blow was so powerful that it was as if a mountain slammed into Shui Ying's body. People smashed towards the ground like a cannonball. There was another loud noise, and Shui Ying's body slammed into the ground, causing a burst of sand and dust. There was a large shallow pit, and there were cracks around the shallow pit. Shui Ying slumped in the shallow pit for a while and did not move again, and he didn't know his life or death. After Chen attacked Shui Ying, he also landed firmly on the ground, walked to Shui Ying's side, looked at Shui Ying who had lost consciousness because of his attack, just smiled playfully. Haha Terumi Mei. In the past life, he was regarded as a YY object by many Naosi fans. If they knew that I treated their goddess like this, I wonder if they would tear me to shreds. Seemingly aware of Chen's approach, Shui Ying's closed eyelashes moved, which was obviously a sign of waking up. Sure enough, after a few seconds, Shui Ying slowly opened her eyes, followed by an incomparable pain in her body, which also made her fully awake. Uchiha Chen. Seeing Uchiha Chen who was standing aside and looking at her with a sneer, Mizuying was startled, and subconsciously wanted to get up, but just as she wanted to move, the result was that the wound was affected, and her complexion suddenly changed. She became pale, cold sweat broke out, and more importantly, her lower body had lost consciousness, and she could not feel her legs. The crisp bone crack just now was obviously the sound of her lumbar spine fracture, unless there was a medical ninja. Treat her and connect the broken spine, otherwise, it would be impossible to stand up. Shui Ying clearly understood his own situation, and a flash of despair flashed in his eyes, but he didn't struggle anymore, let alone the idea of resisting Chen. There was just a bitterness in his heart, as if he had lost all the strength in his body, and suddenly fell down. Finally, he closed his eyes resignedly. Chapter 252, At Your Disposal. The battle finally came to an end, and the result was that Yan's side was defeated. The dead and wounded were wounded, and even Sui Ying himself could not escape. He was seriously injured and paralyzed, and his small life still fell into the hands of Chen. Chen's thoughts. Uchiha Chen, you won, let's do it. As a strong man, Shui Ying naturally has the arrogance of a strong man. Even if he has reached this point, he has never thought of surrendering to his opponent or saying words for mercy. With a faint smile on Chen's face, he slowly bent down, and finally stretched out his hand to grab Shui Ying's neck, lifted Shui Ying up, and looked at her playfully. You are still stubborn now, do you just want to die? At this time, the distance between the two was extremely close. Chen Qing smiled and said to the water shadow in front of him. Chen was tightly bound by Shui Ying's neck, causing her breathing to be difficult. As Chen's voice just fell, she also increased the strength in her hands, making it difficult for Shui Ying to breathe, and a flash of light appeared in Shui Ying's eyes. The determined expression did not struggle, and his consciousness became more and more blurred. Damn, let go of Mizuying-sama. Just when Shuiying thought she would suffocate and die like this, an anxious voice reached her ears, making the consciousness that was about to dissipate suddenly come back to her senses. Hold your throat, speechless. Hearing someone shouting, Chen turned around to look at the person who came, with a playful expression on his face, as if he had found something interesting, and said to the person, "Oh, I remember you seem to be called Chengjuro, Ninja Haramu Flounder. The new user of, I didn't expect Shuiyu to let you survive, I'm really surprised." The person who came was Chojuro, who was let go by Shuiyu, and he didn't run away after Shuiyu left. He was worried about Shuiying's safety and rushed over, but he seemed to be a step late. When he arrived, the battle on Mizukage's side has ended. When he first came here, he saw the scene where Uchiha Chen brought up their Mizukage, which made him furious and exclaimed without any thought. Chengjuro turned a deaf ear to Chen's words. Now all his thoughts were on Shuiying's body. He didn't listen to what Chen was saying. After a while, it also reflected that the flat-eye flounder had been taken away just now, and I felt annoyed in my heart, so I could only roar at Chen, "Bastard, let go of Mizuying-sama quickly. I want me to let her go." Okay. Chen glanced at Shuiying, who had rolled his eyes by himself. If he didn't let go, the dignified Shuiying would really be strangled to death by himself. Perhaps the most embarrassed shadow died. Chen smiled, and then actually let go of his hand. With Chen's release, Shuiying fell to the ground like a puddle of mud, panting heavily and accompanied by a rapid cough. What? Chengjuro was stunned. Chen's action was beyond his expectations. He thought he was just shouting a few times in anxiety. Even if Chen didn't let go, he couldn't do anything about it. In his hands, not to mention that after losing the flat-eye flounder, his strength has dropped sharply, and it is impossible to be his opponent. He didn't expect that with his own words, the other party really let the water shadow go, so he took a moment. My brain is a little short-circuited, and I don't know what to say next. After a while of breathing, Shuiying gradually eased her breath, and her face recovered a trace of blood, but she still couldn't stand up and could only collapse on the ground. Now she doesn't have the determination to seek death just now. He revealed anxiety, and shouted at Chengjuro, "Idiot, what are you doing here? Run away, run away." "Lord Shuiying, I'm here to save you, are you alright?" Chengjuro didn't hear the anxiety contained in Mizukage's voice. After seeing Mizukage recovering his spirit, he breathed a sigh of relief and said happily to Mizukage, even Chen was ignored by him. "Idiot, I told you to run away, don't you understand?" Mizukage yelled, still losing his usual calmness. For Chengjuro, who still couldn't figure out the situation, Mizukage was angry for a while, and his eyes were even anxious because of anxiety. And Bloodshot appeared. The three of them went out of the village, but they were targeted by Uchiha Chen. Not only was she seriously injured, but even Ao was killed. It could be said that the entire army was wiped out. Of course, she didn't want the child Chengjuro to step into her and Ao's. Following in her footsteps, she, who had played against Uchiha Chen, clearly knew the horror of this person, and even she was not his opponent, let alone Chengjuro. He escape. Chen just smiled playfully and didn't say anything. The other party actually wanted to save someone or escape from his own hands. I don't know if he was confident or stupid. Hearing Chen's laughter, Shuiying also came back to her senses. The terrifying speed of Fei Lei Shen appeared in her mind. It was no doubt that she wanted to escape from Uchiha Chen's hands. Thinking of this, Shuiying couldn't help but give birth to a deep feeling. A deep sense of powerlessness. "Uchiha Chen, how about we make a deal?" After being silent for a while, Shuiying made a decision in his heart, and suddenly said to Chen. "Oh." Chen raised his eyebrows, turned to look at Shuiying, and there was a little surprise in his eyes. Mizukage didn't care about Chojuro anymore. After taking a deep breath, he said to Chen, "Your goal should be me, Mizukio, right? Other people are just irrelevant to you. As long as you let Chojuro go, I'm at your disposal." After saying this, she seemed to have exhausted all her strength. Gasping for breath, Her heart kept up and down, but her eyes still looked at Chen firmly. She felt that such conditions were not excessive. Uchiha Chen should agree, only it's a pity that she wanted to forget that she was in Chen's hands now, so how could she be qualified to talk about such conditions? Lord Shuiying, you. At this moment, Chenjiro finally understood that the opposite was Uchiha Chen, a character who could make Yunyan and Konoha terrified. Even Mizukage was not an opponent, so he was nothing. Chapter 253, Is It Kindness? According to the most correct method, after Chenjiro escaped, he should flee to the Iron Country, and then tell the other 4 of the 5 shadows about what happened here, and let them take measures instead of jumping without thinking like now. He came out to be brave, but Chojuro, who was concerned with Mizukage, couldn't care so much anymore, and even selectively ignored Uchiha Chen's strength. It was too late, and now not only did he fail to get out of the water shadow, but he might even get in, and he couldn't help feeling very annoyed. And Chen obviously didn't care much about the small role of Chenjiro, except that he didn't pay attention to the name of Chenjiro just now, but after hearing the transaction mentioned by Mizukage, he looked at Mizukage with a strange expression on his face. Said, "Oh, leave it to me, is it anything?" Shui Ying bit her lower lip lightly, looked at Chen firmly, and said, "That's right, you let my guard go, and I'll let you deal with it." Mizukage has already made a decision in his heart. No matter what Uchiha Chen asks, he will pretend to agree first, and wait until Chenjiro gets out of trouble before finding an opportunity to attack, and at all costs, even if he dies, Uchiha will not feel better. Standing by the side, Chojuro was also surprised when he heard the conditions mentioned by Mizukage, and could not help but hurriedly exclaimed, "Lord Mizukage, you can't." "Shut up, I'm still Mizukage, I don't need you to say anything about the decision I've made." Mizukage yelled at Chenjiro, and then continued to say to Chen, "Uchiha Chen, how is it?" "Haha tilde the conditions sound good," Chen said with a chuckle, then his expression changed, and his tone suddenly turned cold, "But you seem to have forgotten something." Before he finished speaking, Chen suddenly disappeared in place, and appeared in front of Chenjiro in an instant. Before Mizukage could say anything to stop him, and before Chenjiro could react, he had already kicked Chenjiro down and acted again. He stepped on Chojiro's head in Mizukage's face, looked at Mizukage playfully and said, "What do you think you have the right to negotiate terms with me now? It's over." Shuiying sighed in her heart. She also knew her current situation. She had no qualifications to talk about any conditions. She couldn't refute it, and closed her eyes as if accepting her fate. Damn tilde tilde, Nagjiro, who was stepped on by Chen, was naturally extremely unwilling, struggling desperately to get rid of Chen's control, but the foot that stepped on his head was as heavy as 1,000 pounds, no matter how he struggled, always in vain. For Chen, Chenjiro is just a small character, and he doesn't pay attention to it at all. Although in the original book, this guy will become the 6th generation of Mizukage of Karayan Village, but even if he really becomes the 6th generation of Mizukage, Chen also won't take it to heart, let alone now that he is just an irrelevant little person. "Just because you are such a thing, you dare to run in front of me, Uchiha Chen. I really don't know if you are ignorant or fearless. What do you think I should do to you? Did I kill you? Or you can try to beg me, maybe I'll let you go as soon as I'm in a good mood." At this moment, Chen looked at Chenjiro who was at his feet, and said with a sneer, although his tone sounded very relaxed, but there was a hint in his voice. A trace of murderous intent made Chenjiro tremble at his feet, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. Although as a ninja, Chenjiro has already had the consciousness to face death, but in any case he is just a newcomer who has not experienced any storms. Even if he is really not afraid of death, no matter who he is, when the real death comes when he was on his own, he would instinctively feel a trace of fear. It's just that those who are determined will not show it. "Bastard, if you want to kill, kill me. I'm not afraid. If you want me to beg for mercy, you are dreaming." Although he was frightened, Chenjiro didn't want to ask for mercy, and still said stubbornly, "Oh, are you really not afraid of death?" Chen said with a chuckle with interest, "Since you are not afraid of death, then I will fulfill you." As Chen spoke, he stretched out his hand and slowly pulled out the streamer pin to his waist. The red blade body emitted a scorching wave of air, which made both Mizuki and Chenjiro feel a little uncomfortable. Opening her eyes, she looked at the streamer in Chen's hands in surprise. She could feel an extraordinary power from the seemingly simple sword. However, before she could think about it, she saw that Uchiha Chen stabbed the long sword in his hand towards Chenjiro on the ground. Seeing that Chenjiro was about to die under the sword of Chen, Mizuki, who had already accepted his fate, still couldn't bear it. But now she is powerless to do anything. Even if she wants to stop, she does not have the ability. She can only subconsciously exclaim, "Don't." Feeling Chen's killing intent, Chenjiro already felt the fear of death, but he didn't mean to beg for mercy. He just instinctively closed his eyes and waited for the moment when death came. After waiting for a long time, the imagined pain did not appear, but there was a burst of burning heat on his cheeks. Realizing that he was not dead, Chenjiro quickly opened his eyes, turned his head to look, and saw the red blade body close at hand, and the heat flow emanating from the blade. It turned out that Chen didn't stab him, just stabbed him on the ground only a few centimeters away from his head. Chen didn't seem to intend to take Chenjiro's life, so he deliberately stabbed him in the wrong direction. Chenjiro's originally tense body could not help but relax, and he was also secretly relieved. He had never felt that death would be so close to him. At that moment, he had already thought that he was going to die, but he didn't expect it to be like this. At the same time, there was also a little doubt. Why Uchiha Chen didn't kill himself? Did he want to continue to humiliate him? Thinking of this, Chojiro couldn't help but ask, why? Why? HMPH there's no reason, it's just that your luck is good, get out of here. Chen sneered, without giving any explanation. Without allowing Chenjiro to say more, he kicked Chenjiro on the ground and flew out. He used strange power for this kick, so Chenjiro flew far away. Although he didn't die, he was seriously injured and lost his fighting power for a while. After kicking Chenjiro, Chen ignored it, but turned around and walked towards Mizuki, who was paralyzed on the ground, and Mizuki has always seen what happened just now. According to rumors, Uchiha Chen is a ruthless man. People should never let their enemies go. How could they suddenly be merciful? Although it was strange why Chen didn't kill Chojiro, the result also made Mizuki heave a sigh of relief. Chapter 254. After the battle. Seeing that Chen Uchiha didn't seem to want to kill Chojiro, Mizuki breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Seeing Chen walking towards her, he didn't glare at him like he did just now, but said with a teasing, "It is rumored that Chen Uchiha is outside. He is a ruthless, murderous demon, and now it seems that rumors are only rumors after all, not necessarily true." Shui Ying also knows her current situation. After all, she can become Shui Ying of Wuyin Village, which means that she is not stupid, so she never thought of resisting or running away, and she didn't speak ill of Chen in an attempt to anger Chen. Because she knew that it was futile, not to mention that from just now to now, Uchiha Chen didn't seem to plan to kill her. It should be a plot. In general, he is still safe for the time being. Since there is no chance to escape, and scolding is useless, it is better to just go with the flow and see what idea this Uchiha Chen is up to. And Mizuying himself is the kind of person who does not easily express his emotions, so he naturally controls his expressions very well. At least the current water shadow didn't show as much hatred as before. Instead, he recovered his charming nature and even made a joke. If there was no battle just now, others would think that the two of them had known each other long ago. Friends. Chen naturally knew that what Mizuki was referring to was exactly what he would do to let Chenjiro go. Although it was only a matter of time to kill Chenjiro, Chen could also see from the situation of Chenjiro just now. The strength is impossible to be the opponent of Shuiyu at all, and Chenjiro's flat-eyed flounder is gone, so there is only one possibility, that is, it is taken away by Shuiyu, and Chenjiro, who owns the flat-eyed flatfish, is not the opponent of Shuiyu, not to mention having lost weapons. Therefore, Chenjiro should have been let go by Shuiyu. Although Chen didn't know the reason for Shuiyu, he also understood that Shuiyu would naturally have his own ideas. Naturally, Chen would not interfere with Shuiyu's decision. Even if Chen really killed Chengjiro, Shuiyu would not say anything, but after all, Shuiyu had been with him for a long time, and Chen did not simply regard him as a subordinate, just a mere Chengjiro, and Chen did not let go. On the heart. Facing Shuiying's teasing Chen, he didn't explain anything, just chuckled and said, tilde isn't this what you want? Just a little surprised. Then, what are you going to do with me next? Shuiying didn't care. Anyway, she was already a prisoner now, but she wanted to know what Uchiha Chen wanted to do with her. Chen didn't speak, although she decided to attack Shuiying before, and wanted to kill 100 times, but now it's a pity to kill like this, not to mention her own strength, even in the entire ninja world. And as the water shadow of Wuyin village, her ability is naturally not bad. If she is subdued, it may be a good help. It's just that this idea was rejected by Chen as soon as it came out, because it was a bit unrealistic. At least so far, it is impossible to convince Shuiying to submit. In addition to the target of elimination, coupled with the battle just now, Shuiying was crippled, and even the heartfelt Qing was killed. Chen didn't think that he was like the protagonist in those YY novels. What a tiger's body was shocked, can make the opponent put down all hatred and bow down, and once the arrogance of the king is gone, the fierce general will follow Ruyun, and the beauty will marry Ruyu or something. Chen couldn't think of what to do with Shuiying for a while, but it was impossible to just let her go, so he had to put her in his own space before making plans. If it really doesn't work, then kill it, although it's a pity, but Chen also does not want those who oppose him to survive. Thinking of this, Chen did not answer Shuiying's words, but his eyes directly entered the kaleidoscope shape, looking at Shuiying's eyes and said, "Don't try to resist, you will suffer less, and I will save a little trouble." As soon as the words fell, Chen cast an illusion on Shuiying, and Shuiying knew her situation, so she did not resist, and naturally endured Chen's illusion. Controlled and fell into a stupor. He casually put the collapsed Shuiying on the ground into the space. Chen glanced in a certain direction, and after a cold snort, dodged and disappeared in place, and went to join Shuiyu and others. After Chen left the place, the two figures came out from the shadows, with a surprised look on their faces. They looked at the surrounding battlefield that had been deformed due to the battle, and their hearts were horrified. Okay, so strong, the Mizukage of Wuyin village was defeated without fighting back. This is terrible, Lord Shizuka. Uchiha Chen has found us. What should we do? The two people who appeared from the shadows were the two female ninjas from Nadeshiko Ninja Village. This place is very close to the small town. There was a battle here, and whether it was Mizukage or Chen, the ninjutsu they performed was undoubtedly they are all extremely powerful, and the resulting momentum is naturally not weak, and the town can naturally know it, but the civilians in the town hide at home when they feel the pressure of the strong, and they dare not go out, and they are not afraid of it. If you dare to sneak out and take a peek, otherwise you will be affected by the battle, which is not something that civilians like them can handle. It's just that civilians dare not. As ninjas, they are naturally not afraid. After such a big battle, they naturally wanted to find out, so they rushed over, but the two were also cautious and did not show up, just hid in the dark and peeped. After recognizing the identities of Mizukage and Uchiha Chen in the battle, they were also surprised in their hearts, and the following results shocked them even more. Although the two were very careful, both Shuiying and Chen could sense their existence, but Shuiying had no time to care about him at the time, while Chen had no interest in them at all. The two little mice didn't care about them at all, so they didn't care about them. Until Chen left, the two dared to come out of the dark. After seeing Chen's strength, the girls' guard no longer dared to have any thoughts about Chen's Natsuko ninja village. Such a character is not something that their small ninja village can provoke, but more don't say that you want the other party to enter the marriage, this is simply an act of courting death. Thinking of this, the guard hurriedly said to the girl, "Sir Shizuka, Uchiha Chen is too dangerous, the rules of our ninja village can't restrain him at all. Once he is angered, we ninja the village is likely to be wiped out, we should not continue to follow, otherwise." The rules of Fuzzy Village were set by our ancestors. That is already the tradition of our fuzzy village. Are we going to go against our ancestors? I have already made up my mind since the day I became a candidate for village head. This is also my destiny, the girl said helplessly. But the guard seemed to want to say something, but was interrupted by the girl. Okay, I know what you are worried about. If he wants to kill us, he will already do it when he finds us. When something big happens, hurry back to the village and let everyone be careful. You don't have to follow me. When the guard heard this, he said anxiously, how can this be possible? Lord Shizuka, I can't let you go on an adventure alone, and the elders in the village will not agree. I must be by your side. This is my order, the girl said to the guard with a frown, unmoved. I understand, Master Shizuka, please be careful. If you can't convince Uchiha-chen, then you can't provoke him. You must ensure your own safety. The guard couldn't help sighing inwardly when he saw that the girl had made up his mind. After taking a breath, she didn't stop her. She also knew the girl's character, and she couldn't easily change her decision. She knew from the rules she had left behind in the village, so the guards didn't insist. After some instructions, the guard also turned back to the village, and the girl rushed in the direction that Chen had left after the guard left. Chapter 255. The Kingdom of Iron meets Sasuke. After the battle, Chen Yi, Shui Yu and others joined together and left the town. Their next target will be the location of the Five Shadows meeting, the Iron Country. At this time, after a short rest, Chen and the others were walking on their way to the Iron Country. As for his ambush of Mizukage and Korean village before, it seems that the story of his ambush at Miyakide village has not yet spread. There is no one else except the two female ninjas, and they naturally dare not spread the matter at will. Otherwise, if they offend Chen Rangchen, it will be a disaster for their village. In the Eagle Squad, Shui Yu is a restless person. He was bored on the road and came to Chen's side and said with a smile, "Hey, boss, if you let the rest of the shadows know that Shuiying has been solved by us, I don't know what the reaction will be." Chen glanced at Shui Yu, and said casually, "Don't you know what the reaction will be?" "That's what I said. I'm really looking forward to it. When the time comes, the name of my ghost lamp Shuiyu will definitely be resounding in the ninja world, haha tilde tilde." Chen didn't want to meet Shuiyu's nonsense again, and replied indifferently, "Okay, don't talk nonsense. The people of the 5 major ninja villages have already arrived in the country of Iron. Tomorrow is the date of the meeting. We have to rush to the country of Iron before dark." Quote. Yes. Seeing Chen didn't seem to want to take care of her, although she didn't want to, Shuiyu could only reluctantly respond a few times. After a long journey, the speed of the few people was not slow, and they finally arrived at the border of the Iron Country before it was dark, and a further way ahead was to enter the territory of the Iron Country. At this moment, the expressions of Chen and the others suddenly changed, and their bodies suddenly stopped. Both Shuiyu and Changwu raised their vigilance, because just in front of the road where they were, a white and arrogant figure was standing in front of everyone. With his back facing them, he seemed to be waiting for them. More importantly, the aura emanating from that person made Shuiyu and Shigego feel alert. Shuiyu even took down the beheading sword on his back. Seeing this arrogant back, Chen's expression was a little surprised, but soon a smile appeared on his face, obviously recognizing the identity of the person in front. Sasuke. The person in front of him was Sasuke, who was before Chen left Yinan village to find Uchiha Itachi. Before Chen could speak, Shunlin by his side was already cheering, as if he was pleasantly surprised by Sasuke's appearance. "Hey, what? It turned out to be Sasuke. I thought it was the guy who didn't have long eyes." At this time, Shuiyu also recognized the identity of the person in front, lifted the guard, and put the beheading sword back again on his back. He complained unhappily. Sasuke turned around slowly, looked at Chen and the others with indifferent eyes, and said coldly, "You guys are too slow. So, are you waiting for us here on purpose? You still think we are slow? We did a big thing before, do you want to know?" After seeing Sasuke appearing, Shuiyu returned to her original state. With the appearance of Vice Hip Hop, he said to Sasuke with a strange smile, It's just that Sasuke didn't seem to be interested in the big things Shueyu said. He didn't even look at Shueyu and said coldly, "HMPH, I'm not interested." Then, ignoring Shueyu, Dia walked in front of Chen. "Chi, it's such an annoying tone again." Sasuke ignored it. Shueyu didn't care, because he was used to it. If one day Sasuke suddenly became enthusiastic about him, it would be called a ghost. Looking at Sasuke in front of him, although on the surface it looks the same as before, Chen can feel that Sasuke is different at this time. It seems that this time to see Itachi, Sasuke has indeed changed somewhat, but Chen didn't show his emotions, just smiled and said, "You came back earlier than I thought." Chen did not ask Sasuke what he did during the time he went to see Itachi, because it was unnecessary, and Sasuke went to see Itachi this time, and it was estimated that he would meet Itachi for the last time. Naturally, it is impossible to ask about Sasuke. If he wants to say something, he will definitely tell Chen himself. Humph. Sasuke didn't reply, just looked at Chen indifferently and snorted lightly. Chen didn't care either. He chuckled and said, "It's getting dark, let's go to the city and find a place to stay. Tomorrow we'll go meet the people from the 5 great ninja villages for a while." After he finished speaking, he continued to rush towards the country of iron. One of the reasons why the meeting place of the 5 kingdoms and 5 shadows was chosen to be in the Kingdom of Iron, and the leader of the Kingdom of Iron acted as the host of the meeting of the 5 shadows, was one of the reasons for the neutrality of the Kingdom of Iron and the agreement of the ninja a long time ago. There are no ninjas in the country, but a group of fighting groups called samurai, guarding them. It is a neutral country with independent culture, independent authority, and independent combat power. And the warrior leader of the Iron Country is the general of the Iron Country, Mifune. Although this person is a samurai, he has the strength not inferior to the ninja. And the swordsmanship is extremely superb. After joining the Ninja World Union Army, Mifune served as the captain of the 5th Division's Combat Special Unit. Support the besieged Kankuro and others, fight against Hanzo, and defeat Hanzo who lost his will with his will. The country of Iron is now heavily guarded, and there are samurai patrolling the whole city. Anyone who is not known from the city will be turned away from the city, because now is an extraordinary period, and the shadows of the 5 major ninja villages have already gathered here. In the city, and there will be a meeting of the 5 shadows tomorrow. This is a very important meeting. Naturally, the Kingdom of Iron will not allow any accident to happen at this time, otherwise, the Kingdom of Iron will definitely lose its reputation. Although it was already dark, the warriors guarding outside the city gate were still rigorously checking everyone who came in and out. However, at this time, few people came in and out of the city, but the guards did not dare to relax. For the investigation outside the city gate, Chen, who has a kaleidoscope writing wheel eye, will definitely not take it seriously. He took Shueyu and a few others and walked over so swaggeringly. When the samurai wanted to investigate them, Chen just carried it. Looking up, those warriors were all caught in Chen's illusion without knowing it. Until Chen and the others entered the city and disappeared into the night, the warriors seemed to have woken up from their sleep, but they just looked around in confusion and had no impression of what just happened. After shaking their heads, they resumed themselves. Job. Chapter 256. Obito appears. Although the current situation is a time of peace, the relationship between the 5 major countries is not complete allies. Naturally, the 5 Shadows Conference has to choose a venue where everyone can rest assured, and the Kingdom of Iron, which is completely dominated by samurai, is naturally a good one. Choice. Everyone who entered the city randomly found a hotel to settle in, and then everyone in the Eagle Squad, except Sasuke, gathered in Chen's room to hear about his next plan. After entering the city, taking advantage of the gap in finding a place to stay, Shueyu also probably saw the current situation of the Iron Country, and couldn't help saying, "Boss, I just read a rough outline. The current Iron Country is really on guard. Strict. There are warriors of the Iron Country patrolling everywhere. I see tomorrow, the place where they will talk will definitely be more stern. Unless we force it, there is no way to get close." Quote. That's true. because tomorrow is the day of the meeting. The leaders of the Iron Country definitely don't want any accident to happen during the meeting. You must know that people in the whole ninja world are paying attention to the trends here, if it happens during this period. Unexpectedly, it is undoubtedly hitting them in the face. Chen seemed to have expected the current situation of the Iron Country, so he was not surprised, just said with a sneer. Because the country of iron is shrouded in wind and snow all year round, after entering the country of iron, they put on a cloak to keep out the cold. So what are we going to do next? Are we really going to break through? Tilda, don't worry, the meeting won't start until tomorrow anyway. Everyone should have a good rest tonight, let's talk about it tomorrow. Answering Xianglin's question, he said with a chuckle, while waving his hand to signal them to leave. Okay, since you have said so, boss, then we have nothing to worry about, let alone how powerful the Iron Country is. Can he be as powerful as Union Village and Konoha Village? Union and Konoha, we have all crossed it, why are we afraid of his small Iron Country? I am looking forward to tomorrow more and more, so I will go back first. Hearing that Chen asked them to go back, Shuiyu didn't think much. Just follow Chen's words and do it, anyway, people like him won't be entangled in those complicated things. Soon, everyone in the Eagle Squad left Chen's room, and Chen also closed the door after they left, with a playful smile on his face. Tilda, I didn't expect you to come to me in person. I didn't expect that after the Eagle Squad left, Chen actually said a word to the empty room, as if there were other people in the room. Suoga, so you have already discovered it, Uchiha Chen, you are really amazing. An indifferent voice suddenly sounded in the room, followed by a wave of spatial fluctuations from behind Chen. Although Chen did not look back, he already knew the identity of the person who appeared out of thin air. Thank you, but I don't think you came to me today to flatter me. Fei, or Uchiha Madara. Hearing what the person said, Chen just smiled, and slowly turned to look at in the back, where there was no one else. A person wearing a black-bottomed red Yunsha organization's unique uniform with a spiral mask on his face appeared in Chen's line of sight. There is only one person in Hokage who has this kind of dress, and that is the actual controller behind the Akatsuki organization, Uchiha Obito. Although he knew the true identity of Obito, Chen did not reveal it, but revealed the name Uchiha Madara, but this was enough to surprise Obito. Although his identity was revealed by Chen Dao, Obito did not show any unhappiness, and said in a low tone, as Itachi, who told you that you actually know my identity? Obito thinks that he has never shown his true face, but secretly controls Akatsuki as Madara Uchiha, and no more than 5 people know his identity, even in Akatsuki, besides Nagato, Konan and Uchi. Except for Bo Itachi, the other core members cannot know. He is very confident in his methods, but now his secret has been revealed by Chen Yi. In addition, the previous Itachi had been in contact with Chen, and naturally he thought it was Itachi. He revealed his identity to Chen's. Chen didn't answer Obito's question, but asked with a sneer in a mocking tone, "Tell me. What's the purpose of letting you, the guy who has been hiding behind the scenes, come to me in person? It stands to reason that there should be a hostile relationship between us. Well, what? Are you planning to kill me personally?" Chen was right, there was indeed a deep feud between the Eagle Squad and Shao Organization. Almost all the core members of Shao Organization died at the hands of Chen, which made the high-end combat power of the Shao Organization drop sharply. When it comes to Uchiha Obito's plan, what's more important is that the 4-tailed and 2-tailed human Zuli of the 9-tailed beasts are in Chen's hands, and according to reports, Uchiha Chen's hands seem to control 1 head and 9 tails. It was also something Obito was puzzled about. Compared to the loss of the core members, the tailed beast was what Obito cared about the most. Thinking of all his plans and his ideal world, Obito's originally indifferent eyes gradually became crazy, but he recovered quickly and did not do anything irrational. When Sasuke went to see Itachi before, he kept monitoring Sasuke, and finally contacted Sasuke directly. Unfortunately, he was not able to fool Sasuke. In the end, Obito decided to come and talk to Chen in person. Chen has become an existence that he cannot ignore. Obito didn't care about the mockery in Yi Chen's tone, just stood quietly in the same place, and suddenly said with a hint of inexplicable tone, "No. I didn't come with hostility today, I just came here to meet you in person. And talk to you by the way." "Oh, just to talk, so what do you want to talk about?" "Talk about a plan." Quote ellipsis. Chapter 257, Imminent. Chen sneered in his heart, he already knew the purpose of Obito's trip. He just wanted to pull the Eagle Squad into his chariot to help him implement his Moon Eye plan. In the original book, Sasuke was also fooled by Obito, until Orochimaru was reincarnated after the 5 shadows were reincarnated. In the room, Obito didn't speak after explaining the purpose of the trip, and looked at Chen silently, waiting for Chen's response. But a Uchiha Chen appeared out of nowhere. Although it wasn't enough to make his plan fail, it has already been affected a lot. More importantly, he originally planned to kill Itachi and take Itachi's eyes to evolve. He turned into an eternal kaleidoscope, and then induced him to use Sasuke Uchiha for his use. In the end, it also failed, and Sasuke did not ignore him at all. Although Obito also thought about getting rid of Uchiha Chen, but Chen's strength was too strong. All the members of the Akatsuki organization who met him were killed, and even the leader of the Akatsuki organization, Uzumaki Nagato, was not an opponent. Even if he shot himself, he might not be able to kill Chen, which undoubtedly gave Obito a sense of crisis. The existence of Uchiha Chen was an unstable factor in his plan. No matter what, Obito would not allow anyone to destroy his plan. So he had to come and talk to Chen in person. You must know that the tailed beast is a crucial part of his plan, but Shao organization has only caught 5 now, namely 1 tail, 3 tails, 5 tails, 6 tails, 7 tails, the remaining 2 tails, 4 tails, 8 tails and 9 tails have not been caught, and it is known that the 2 and 4 tails Zuli have already fallen into the hands of Uchiha Chen. This is also one of the purposes of Obito's trip. He must let Chenren Zuli hand it over, and another purpose is to pull Chen into their camp. Because the Shao organization has been attacking the people of the villages, it has aroused the vigilance of the major ninja villages, and then Uchiha Chen grabbed the 2-tailed people and smashed Union Village. Feeling the crisis, so the 5 shadows talks are held in the Iron Country. The purpose is to crusade the Shao organization and the Eagle Squad. Although the Shao organization has already made preparations to fight the 5 major ninja villages at the same time, with the 100,000 physical clones split by Baiju, it will not be afraid of the 5 major ninja villages, but this is not enough, just Baiju that these mass-produced physical clones are not very powerful, and can only be regarded as the lowest level cannon fodder. Almost all of the high-end combat power in the Shao organization has been wiped out by Chen Zan. Because Orochimaru has not yet been in contact with the Shao organization, so they have not yet reincarnated in the army, and the high-end combat power is only Pen Ludao, Xiaonan, and Ju is an intelligence officer. Although Akatsuki and the Eagle Squad had such a festival, in Obito's eyes, compared to the plan, the people that Akatsuki lost were insignificant. As long as the ideal in his heart could be realized, he could pay any price. The overall strength of the Eagle Squad is good, especially Uchiha Sasuke and the unfathomable Uchiha Chen. This is exactly what he needs now, so Obito made up his mind to use the only 2 remaining members of the Uchiha clan. Everyone was drawn over. There was no chance before, but now Raking has held a 5 shadow meeting, which is an opportunity. Because the 5 ninja village also regarded the Eagle Squad as the target of the crusade, Obito decided that Uchiha Chen would not refuse, otherwise he would have to face such a huge camp alone. As long as he was not an arrogant idiot, he will definitely accept his proposal, and the phrase, "the enemy of the enemy is the friend," can be summed up. Although he already knew Obito's intention, Chen didn't reveal it. Instead, he showed a look of interest, and asked with a light smile, "Tell me about it, I might be interested." The purpose of your coming to the Iron Country is also because of the 5 shadows talks. The 5 shadows have already planned to take action against us, and your Eagle Squad can't escape either, because you have gone too far, and the stakes between us are too high. It's the same. So what? Chen said indifferently. Obitu's only exposed scarlet writing wheel eye, 3 Guyu slowly turned, just stared at Chen, and said in a low voice, Alliance. Alliance. That's right, Eagle and Akatsuki act together to disrupt the actions of the 5 ninja village. Chen did not agree to Obito's suggestion, and said playfully, haha. I killed a lot of your people, don't you mind? The most important thing now is to deal with the next actions of the 5 shadows. As for the grievances between Ying and Xiao, let go for the time being. After the problem of the 5 shadows is solved, we will care about it. Obito said in a deep voice. Oh, it's a very good suggestion, but do you guys know what capital you have to discuss cooperation with me now? Are there other people you can use besides the remaining one Pain? Although Pain's strength is not bad, but just based on his words, he is not qualified to be compared with my Uchiha Chen. I am very skeptical about your strength. If you want to join me, you have to show strength that can convince me. Chen didn't have any scruples about Obito, he sneered, but the culprit behind the current situation of the Xiao organization was himself. Obito also felt a little unhappy in his heart. After all, he had planned for a long time to win over his subordinates, but they were all killed by Chen before they could fully play their role, which made his plan a lot of obstacles, but in order to implement his goals, Obito didn't care, as long as he could draw Uchiha Chen over, it would be much more useful than those people organized by Akatsuki. But looking at Uchiha Chen's disdainful appearance, Obito felt that it was necessary to show a few hands and suppress the opponent's arrogance. Otherwise, even if Uchiha Chen was really drawn over, the other party might not put him in his eyes. He will not accept his orders, this is not what Obito wants. Obito, who was determined in his heart, stared at Chen with an icy look in his eyes, and said gloomily, strength. Then let me show you. As soon as Obito's words came out, the original strange atmosphere became even more depressed, and Chen also put away the abusive look after Obito spoke. Both locked onto each other at the same time. The atmosphere became unprecedentedly oppressive. Chapter 258. A brief confrontation. With Obito's words, the atmosphere in this small room suddenly turned cold, and both of them locked onto each other at the same time and could make a move at any time. Then try it. 3 Guyu appeared in Chen's eyes, staring coldly at Obito in front of him, and said in a low voice, at the same time, he was ready to attack at any time. Obito didn't talk nonsense anymore, he directly activated the ability to write round eyes, his body disappeared into the ground in an instant, and disappeared from Chen's line of sight, and then Chen felt a wave of space fluctuations behind him, and he didn't need to think about it. That's a sign of taking the earth out. As soon as there was a change behind him, Chen reacted, and with an almost perverted instinct, he instantly pulled out the streamer pin to his waist and slashed behind him. This distance plus his speed, Chen believes that not many people in this ninja world can escape their own attacks at such close range. I saw a flash of light from the knife, almost Obito just appeared, Chen's knife was emitting a fiery wave, and he had already slashed towards Obito's waist, which was converted to Chen's back using his kaleidoscope ability. If any measures are taken, it will be cut into 2 pieces by Chen's waist without any suspense. In the face of Chen's blow, Uchiha Obito turned a blind eye, and didn't want to avoid the movement at all. He seemed to have incomparable confidence, and he continued to attack Chen with the movement in his hand. There is no suspense, Lu Guang's crimson blade slashed at Obito's body at the waist. However, the scene in his imagination did not appear. What is surprising is that Chen's powerful knife actually slashed through Obito's body, as if it cuts through the air, and has no physical sense of touch. HMPH, is it blurry? This strange phenomenon did not surprise Chen, because he had long known that this was the ability derived from Obito's kaleidoscope writing wheel, Shinwei. An ability that is equivalent to cheating, can switch between reality and reality at will, and can also inhale the target into the space of divine power. I think he was very keen on this ability at the beginning, but with Chen's strength gradually became more and more getting stronger, this ability is not so urgent for him to get it. The bug-like ability of blurring may be a headache for ordinary people, but Chen Zhao has a thorough understanding of blurring, and the seemingly strange ability is actually not as powerful as imagined, but it is very troublesome, because obito while virtualizing, it is also impossible to touch the real object, and naturally it cannot cause damage. Only when he transforms into a real entity can he cause damage to the opponent, and the price is that the obito at that time is a real entity, and it also causes damage to the opponent. It means that obito at that moment can be touched. If you attack obito at that moment, you can attack him and cause damage to him. Although the knife slashed into the air, the strong sword chi created by Chen's swing of the knife was already ejected with the instant of Chen's swing. Because the houses here are all made of wood, it is naturally impossible to withstand the strong slashing. The wooden wall behind him was chopped into two in an instant, causing a lot of movement. And Chen's blow failed to hit obito, and it had already lost its effect, but obito's movements did not stop because of this, and he had already swung his fist towards Chen's face. At such a distance, Chen seems to be unavoidable, but Chen's face has not changed in the slightest. I won. Seeing that Uchiha Chen was about to be hit by himself, Obito was secretly overjoyed, but at the moment when he physically attacked Chen, a sense of crisis suddenly appeared in his heart, and Uchiha Chen was originally the writing wheel of Sengoyu. I don't know when it has been transformed into a kaleidoscope state. Although I don't know where the sense of crisis came from, it must have something to do with Uchiha Chen. A cautious Obito didn't dare to be careless, but he resisted the act of attacking at a critical moment, and dispelled the idea of turning into an entity to attack. The final result was that Obito's fist passed through Chen's body, and the castration continued, until even the whole body passed through Chen's body, and after Obito passed through Chen's body, two people were formed, facing each other. A sharp light flashed in Chen's eyes, and before Obito's castration was over, he had already made a move. He turned the blade and stabbed behind him with his backhand. His reaction and speed were as fast as lightning and flint. However, after passing through Chen Uchiha's body, the cautious Obito did not materialize to attack, and remained in a virtual state, so Chen's attack stabbed in the void without any accident, without hitting medium entity. Hey, as expected of playing behind the scenes, you really can hold your breath. He missed another hit. Although he had expected it, Chen couldn't help but secretly complain, and at the same time he left his position. He distanced himself from Obito, then turned to look at Obito, and Obito also turned around and stared at Chen after he stopped, and the two formed a situation of confrontation again. All these actions have been completed in an instant. It was just a face-to-face, and the two of them had already clashed several times in one breath. From the results, it seems that there is no winner. Uchiha Obito did not face Uchiha Chen caused any damage, and Uchiha Chen was not able to attack Obito, and neither party was able to get any advantage. The speed and response are extraordinary, and he actually shot twice in a short encounter. No, it should be 3 times. The sense of crisis that made me palpitate just now should come from his kaleidoscope writing wheel eye. If I was there, if he shoots at the moment, he must have the ability to use the kaleidoscope. This Uchiha Chen is very strong. It really shouldn't be underestimated. Although there was no result in the short fight, Obito was already shocked, but because he wore a mask on his face, he couldn't see any expression, but it was certain that Obito's face was definitely not very good. Chapter 259, The Conditions of the Alliance. Although the fight between the two did not cause much damage, Chen's eyes slash just now also caused some movement. If it is an ordinary person, it may not be noticed, but if it is a ninja with strong perception and alertness, it may be able to. When he noticed something, in Chen's perception, there were already several chakras coming towards his room, and 4 of them were from the Eagle squad that he was familiar with. And Obito naturally senses the situation outside, but he doesn't care about this kind of thing. With the ability to blur, he can come and go freely even in an army of millions. Naturally, it will not be because of this. People retreat. Yahahaha, it's really dangerous. If it was someone else who made such a powerful attack, it would be in big trouble. After a moment of silence, Obito also disconnected from his thoughts, and was using a playful tone. He said to Chen, From what he said, he seemed to be praising Chen's strong attack power, but in fact Chen heard the irony of Obito, probably because your attack was very strong, but it couldn't help me. Mean. Chi. In the situation just now, you used your kaleidoscope-shattering eye pupil technique, right? It's really weird. Facing Obito's mockery, Chen seemed to disapprove. For the rogue skill of blurring, although he couldn't attack Obito, but Obito didn't even want to get any advantage on himself. As long as he dared to materialize in front of him, even for a moment, he would be able to make Obito run away. Have you seen it? Yes, this is the ability of my kaleidoscope to write round eyes. As long as I am willing, no one in this world can hurt me. Uchiha Chen, you are indeed very strong, but even if you have no matter how powerful you are, you still can't touch me, but I can attack you anytime, anywhere, you have no chance to beat me. Obito said with a playful look in his eyes. He finally let this the mighty Uchiha Chen was deflated, and Obito saved a little face for the Shao organization, so there was a hint of pride in his tone, obviously full of confidence in his ability to blur. Really? Facing Obito's ridicule, Chen sneered, although as you said, I really can't attack you, but don't forget, you can't hurt a single hair of mine. I have probably figured out the ability. As long as you enter this virtual state, not only will others be unable to contact you, but relatively, you will not be able to cause any harm to others, so your ability is actually not much. Awesome. As Chen said, Chen can't attack Obito who is in a virtual state, and Obito also can't touch Chen's body, just like a player with an invincible plugin and a soft girl player with a full-level god outfit. In the same way, the attack and defense of a full-level full-suit player are super perverted, but they can't kill the plug-in player. Although the plug-in player has an immortal body, the attack power is not strong, and it can't cut the blood bar of the full-level god equipment player at all. No one can do anything. Did you already understand Shinwei's ability so well after seeing it once? This guy, Chen Yi said that Shinwei's ability was broken. Although it was only a part of it, it was not complete, but it also made Obito's face ugly. The pride and ridicule just now disappeared in his tone, and he said in a low voice, even if you know the power of Shinwei, you still have nothing to do with me who can't attack me. How? Your Eagle Squad League. Obito doesn't want to be entangled with Chen anymore. His original purpose was to win over Chen Uchiha, not to decide the outcome with him. In the short fight just now, he probably understood that Chen Uchiha's strength was indeed rare combat power. This is what he needs most at present, and he doesn't want to be too stiff with Chen, so he has the idea of letting it go, so he asks. Hey, boring question, if your ability is only limited to this strange life-saving skill, then I have no interest in your alliance at all. Chen said with a sneer. Hearing Uchiha Chen's answer, although Obito was already a little unhappy in his heart, the city government that Obito had cultivated over the years would naturally not show it, but the face hidden under the mask became ugly, and his brows were slightly wrinkled. However, Obito would not believe the nonsense that Uchiha Chen said. If he was really not interested, he would not be able to talk so much nonsense with himself. There must be some kind of purpose, and he also knew that this Uchiha Chen was not like other people in Akatsuki's organization. It's easy to fool around, and more importantly, Uchiha-shin has no way to make Obito use it. The previous trick of coercing and enticing members of Akatsuki's organization won't work here, so Obito didn't waste any more time, bluntly and coldly asked, "What do you want? Tell me your conditions." Tilde are my conditions. It's actually quite simple. I want to join forces with me. That's okay, but I'll be the leader. How about the conditions for your organization to obey my command? Chen smiled and said his own conditions, but this condition is just a casual statement. He knows that such a condition is impossible for Obito to agree to. Sure enough, after hearing Chen's so-called conditions, the air around Obito suddenly turned cold, and the only exposed scarlet eyes stared coldly at Chen Uchiha before him, and said sensibly, "This joke is not funny at all. I'm not joking with you, this is my condition. How? Are you ready to agree?" Chen said indifferently. Uchiha Chen, you are indeed an amazing person, but that doesn't mean you can tease me. It seems that I need to make you realize the reality. The negotiation broke down again, and there was no need to continue talking. Obito can only express his thoughts with actions. This time, Obito has made up his mind to make an unreserved shot. He must make this arrogant Uchiha Chen suffer a bit, and the second confrontation between the two is about to start. Chapter 260, The Price of the Shot. Uchiha Chen, you are indeed an amazing person, but that doesn't mean you can make fun of it. It seems that I need to make you recognize the reality. A slightly low voice came out of the earth's mouth. Under the mask the writing wheel was slowly spinning, and after the negotiation broke down again, Obito decided to make an unreserved shot, and he must make the arrogant Uchiha Chen suffer a bit. Obito's voice just fell, and with the rotation of his writing wheel, a wave of space fluctuations came. Under Chen's gaze, a spatial spiral appeared out of thin air and sucked Obito into the space and then returned to its original state, while Obito had already disappeared in Chen's sight. After seeing Obito disappearing again, Chen snorted coldly and said disdainfully, "Humph. Here's another set. Is this guy a gay? Why does he always like to come out from behind others?" However, just after Chen finished speaking, a hand appeared silently behind him and grabbed towards his neck. At this time, his pupils shrank slightly, and his reaction was not unpleasant. After sensing the strangeness behind him, the sharp blade in his hand immediately shot, once again turned around and slashed. As expected, it was another ineffective attack. The slash seemed to be slashed in the void, without any touch. After Obito entered the Shinwei space, he appeared behind Chen, and launched an attack from behind Chen, but Chen's reaction speed was too fast, so that his attack was the same as before. Before he could catch Chen, Chen had already cut him. Towards him, he had no choice but to maintain a virtual state to avoid Chen's slash, but his movements did not stop and still grabbed towards Chen's neck. When he noticed that he was slashing the sky again, Chen thought to himself, "Sure enough, this guy is too cautious. Once he perceives the danger, he will definitely not touch the state of the virtual. My attack will not be able to cause damage to him no matter what, so as soon as I come, I don't have a chance. It seems that I have to show a little flaw in myself to lure him to make a move." The last time it was because Uchiha Obito saw his own kaleidoscope writing wheel eye and sensed a sense of crisis, so he didn't do it. This time Chen didn't run the kaleidoscope writing wheel eye after Zongkong, and at the same time pretended to be too violent, and for a while. Unable to hold back, his body leaned forward slightly, revealing a flaw. "Huh, this guy, is he trying to lure me to attack him? Huh, it's so naive." Seeing that Chen would show his flaws at such a time, Obito naturally expressed doubts. After all, Obito has always acted cautiously, otherwise he would not. There may be so many things planned behind the scenes. He didn't believe that Uchiha Chen would make such a low-level mistake. At this moment, he turned a blind eye to Chen's flaws, resisted the urge to shoot, and passed directly through Chen like the last time. Body of. Damn it. As expected, I've been seen through. It's really not easy to deceive this guy. I don't believe that you can keep holding back against me. Seeing that his plan had failed, Chen was also upset. He was surprised at Obito's prudence, on the one hand, because his plan failed. Although he also felt that such a low-level method could not deceive the thoughtful Obito, when his plan was really seen through, he still had to endure it. Can't stop ranting. At this time, Obito had completely passed through Chen's body. Just like the first time they fought each other, they passed by again and turned their backs to each other. Chen, who should have turned the blade and stabbed behind him, stopped this time. Restraining his own instincts, he resisted the action of shooting, and exposed his back to Obito without any defense, as if he recognized Obito and didn't dare to shoot at him, so he was too lazy to defend, as if he had no defense, and was waiting to be slaughtered. Look. It's such an obvious flaw again. This Uchiha Chen dares to look down on me so much. Do you really think I dare not take action? After realizing Uchiha Chen's behavior, Obito was indignant, although he knew that this was Uchiha Chen was tempting him to take action, but his heart was still unstoppably aroused by anger and being teased like this. As the boss behind Shao, when did Obito, who has been planning all kinds of conspiracy events, receive such contempt, and he was naturally very in his heart angry. Humph. It must be some kind of trick to tempt me to make a move, but I have no reason to be afraid of you. If that's the case, then I will do what you want. He must have some preparations for his shot. He would not be fooled by such a low-level temptation, but now he has decided to teach the other party a lesson, and he can't care about so much. More importantly, he is very concerned about his own kaleidoscope writing wheel. The ability of the eyes is very confident. Even if there is any danger, he can be blurred in an instant. As long as he enters the state of blurring, no one in this world can hurt him. This is also his biggest reliance. He had no reason to be afraid of Uchiha Chen when he was defeated. He has made up his mind to pay attention. Obito did not give up this opportunity this time. Although this opportunity was deliberately exposed by the other party, he still stepped into the trap set by the other party without hesitation. Confidence. I saw Obito suddenly turned around without hesitation when the two of them strayed, reached out and grabbed Chen's shoulder. Seeing Uchiha Chen, who didn't seem to have reflected, Obito's face hidden under the mask appeared. A scheming smile. It's over. Immediately afterwards, Obito's only exposed writing wheel eye turned crazily, and with the rotation of the writing wheel eye, a spiral-shaped space black hole suddenly appeared on Chen's body. It was a space vortex. At the moment when the vortex appeared, an irresistible powerful attraction came. It seemed to want to devour everything around it, and the nearest Chensho was the brunt of the body, which was already attracted by the black hole, in an irregular twisted shape, and was quickly being sucked in by the black hole. What Obito didn't know was that when Obito stretched out his hand and grabbed Chen's shoulder, a playful smile appeared on Chen's face, and he felt the physical touch from his shoulder, as well as the spiral black hole that appeared on his body. Chen knows the current state of Obito Jung's entity, which means that the devouring speed of Shinwei was very fast. Chen didn't delay, the writing wheel instantly transformed into a kaleidoscope state, and the left eye was turning wildly. Slaughterhouse. As Chen's chilling voice sounded, a special barrier centered on Chen instantly spread out to the surroundings, completely shrouding everything in the entire room, making everything in the space fall into a state of stillness. Chen Yi instantly escaped the range of Shinwei, and then his right hand quickly condensed a spiral pill, and then abruptly printed the spiral pill in his hand on Obito's lower abdomen, and also released the ability of the slaughterhouse. Boom. Quote ellipsis.